Tang Yue inexplicably became the female supporting character of the ancient immortal hero, realizing that not only did she lack golden fingers, but she also had a circle in her heart that could potentially kill her at any time. The ring told her that only by working hard to become beautiful can one survive. After 8 years of hard cultivation, Tang Yue finally achieved a life-saving appearance. She heard the latest rumors. Chu Tianshu is indeed very charming. I heard that the young daughter of the city lord used plastic surgery 5 times to attract his attention, and now she is a self-made beauty. Tang Yue. Where is this kind of secret technique? Damn it, I knew I wasn't working hard anymore. Male lead. Junior sister, you have a sincere heart for me. I don't want to disappoint you. After I become the young city lord, how about marrying your sister and being my wife together? Tang Yue drew his sword and said, so senior brother, you covet the position of my young city lord. P.S. With a focus on cultivation and limited romantic relationships, the male lead is the most attractive keywords of the novel. Xiuxian Nu with no pop-ups, Xiuxian Nu with no pop-ups, complete download of TXT, Xiuxian Nu with no pop-ups, latest chapters for reading. Chapter 1. Spell Ring. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 1. Spell Ring. Tang Yue played the final version of Qi Ju and finally felt the flow of breath inside her body. This is the 3rd day she wore Born Proud Bone, and has been reading introductory books on cultivation, trying to understand how to cultivate and guide qi into her body from various seemingly incomprehensible sentences. However, this is too difficult for a research worker, and it has never been successful. She thought it was normal. The original scholar girl had poor qualifications and relied solely on her mother's water and English to nourish the 3 spiritual roots of gold, earth, and earth. It was only at the age of 10 that she was able to induce qi into her body. It would be great for a regular casual cultivator, but she is the daughter of the city lord, and many of her fellow disciples are single spiritual geniuses. In contrast, her situation is very awkward, and she is secretly ridiculed by others, saying that the city lord's family has good bamboo shoots but bad bamboo shoots. She thought to flip through those books for ordinary people's cultivation again, to some extent, to supplement some common sense. Xiuxian has always loved Tang Yue, and she remembered that she had just recovered from her injury. She heard that she wanted to read some introductory Taoist books, so with a wave of her hand, she brought 5 boxes of Taoist books. It is indeed a world of cultivating immortals, with flourishing immortal methods and an astonishing number of works. She can't escape reading literature anywhere she goes. There is a book called Qi Ju that guides ordinary people to regulate their breath and maintain health. Following this book, Tang Yue sensed the qi in her body. Finally, she had a real sense of the cultivation technique and saw the dawn of introducing qi into her body. However, the next moment, a heart-wrenching pain spread from within her body, instantly spreading throughout her body, preventing her from standing and falling onto the bed. Her forehead was covered in cold sweat, and in pain, she noticed a faint light coming from below. She lowered her head and saw a glowing circle the size of a ring floating on her chest. At the moment she saw the ring, some information flooded into her mind, and she realized that it was the ring passing it to her. Originally, this circular ring was the yin-yang reversal spell ring used by the original female partner to curse the female lead Tang Yue. It can transform the living person's yang energy into yin energy, and the living person immediately becomes a walking corpse, but the soul is trapped inside the body and cannot be released. In the original text, the male lead Chu Tianshu used a secret technique to rescue the cursed female lead, and the spell backfired on the female supporting Tang Yue. The spell ring also entered her body with the force of the backfire. The Dharma ring was infused with her resentment for the rest of the original owner's life, absorbing a lot of negative energy. The powerful backlash and resentment gathered around the ring. This high-level spell ring was originally a heavenly treasure jade transformed from the essence of heaven and earth. It is an excellent genius treasure, but unfortunately, it was cultivated by evil to become a powerful curse ring. Lingbao has its own will and is unwilling to be destroyed like this. When the original owner was killed, the resentment reached its maximum level, and the circular ring tore apart the space for self-protection, dragging living souls from other worlds, imitating the 6 paths of reincarnation, and placing the soul body into Tang Yue's body. Turning the clock back, she returned to being an 8-year-old supporting actress. The spell ring passed on its will to Tang Yue. It wanted to eliminate the resentment and evil power on its body, and become a genius treasure again. And now it has little mana, so it cannot stop the resentment from eroding her body. It needs to rest for a few days, accumulate spiritual energy, and reactivate the seal on negative power. Tang Yue is speechless. She now feels that 996 is much more painful than this at any time. Is it possible that she did not accumulate virtue in modern society that led to this great difficulty? Not to mention cultivating immortals, now she's in such pain that she can't even leave the door. No, she must find a way, otherwise she can only stay here forever as a bedridden useless person. This is definitely not the life she wants to live. She thought of the meditation sutra she had just seen, which was similar to the modern concept of meditation. It taught people to see into their own bodies, gaze at their troubles and pains, and let distractions not interfere with themselves. Perhaps it could help her. The cultivator resides in the spiritual root and has a much stronger memory than ordinary people. At this moment, she still remembers the content of the meditation sutra and begins to practice. Sure enough, after a while, the pain no longer had a significant impact on her, and half a day later she stood up again. She went to the table and poured a cup of tea, took a big sip, and at least now she can take care of herself. The key is to figure out what this ring really wants to do. It seemed to sense her thoughts, and the spell ring sent a will. To make Tang Yue beautiful. She is a bit confused. The usual plot is to eliminate the female lead's resentment, fulfill her wishes, and give her a more fulfilling and carefree life. Do you think that this broken ring can eliminate resentment by making the female lead more beautiful? Thinking of this, there was a buzzing sound in her mind, and her pain intensified. She quickly meditated to regulate her breathing. This spell can't even hear roast. I complain in my heart that a few words are going to happen. Is there any privacy left? Okay, in the original work, a woman with a relatively beautiful appearance is very dissatisfied with her appearance, often feeling anxious about her appearance, especially when compared to Tang Yuan, the most beautiful woman in Quenched City. With this in mind, becoming beautiful can be a way to eliminate resentment. What else can she do? Junior sister, are you still awake? A voice of inquiry came from outside the door from the miscellaneous disciples. The larger sects do not like the family, which likes to raise immortal servants. Instead, they hire external disciples to do miscellaneous work, and their peers also refer to each other by their sect seniority. Senior sister, I'm awake. You come in. A woman in a dark green shirt pushed the door in and said, Junior sister, may I ask if you can have dinner with her today? If you're feeling unwell, please bring the food to your room for dinner. The mother of the original owner, Lady Xue, had already opened the valley and did not need to eat. However, Tang Yue was young and often ate with her daughter. I haven't walked out of my room for 3 days now. Mrs. Xue comes to see her every day and asks about her physical condition. Although Tang Yue still felt a slight pain in her body, eating normally was still okay. Today, going to dinner was also good for Lady Xue's heart. She said to the servant Senior sister, I'm much better now. Let's go to my mother's place together. She lived in the east courtyard of Ruoxuju, not far from the main courtyard, and within a few steps, she arrived at Lady Xue's place. I saw a beautiful woman talking to a servant disciple, with eyebrows and eyes similar to hers, but much more beautiful than her. The woman was very happy when she saw her coming. Yue, are you feeling better? Come here quickly. Then she pushed a plate of dim sum to her seat. Tang Yue stepped forward and sat at the octagonal table, next to Lady Xue. Her mother passed away when she was in high school, and her father remarried 2 years after her death. She has been living alone ever since, and at this time, she is still a bit uncomfortable with Shui Yingru's enthusiasm. After thinking for a moment, she spoke to Tang Yue and Lady Shui from her memory. "Mom, I'm much better now." "What were you doing just now?" "I'll have someone deliver a letter to your grandfather, asking him to send a few cultivators who are proficient in formations to reinforce the Spirit Beast Academy on the back mountain of the Lord's mansion, so that no more ferocious beasts can come out and harm you." Tang Yue recalled the ancient immortal Xia's small words that had caused her to pass through. The original owner led the female lead Tang Yuan to the Spirit Beast Academy, intending to provoke the fierce beast to kill this annoying concubine. She didn't expect the fierce beast to break free from its chains in advance and charge towards the position where the two of them were standing. At the critical moment, the city lord Tang Wenhua descended from the sky and saved his beloved daughter Tang Yuan, but he didn't care about Tang Yue whom he despised. The original owner was immediately knocked away by a fierce beast, and her internal organs ruptured and she became unconscious. Shui Yingru spent a lot of valuable pills and cultivation to save her. Tang Yue thought to herself in a dark tone. Actually, it was mainly because she hung up this time that there was no need to activate the spell, and she wouldn't be able to pass through it herself. Shui Yingru, seeing her daughter silent, thought she was grieving for her father's failure to save her. She comforted her and said, "Your father was just in a hurry and didn't think too much. He didn't care about your safety." She was afraid that she didn't believe this. After her daughter was injured, Tang Wenhua came to deliver life-saving medicinal herbs in the days when she was seriously injured. She didn't even come to see her afterwards, and probably felt that Tang Yue was taking it on herself. In the original book, Tang Wenhua had always looked down upon this daughter with poor qualifications, but he adhered to the principle of making the most of everything and did not lack the treatment that Tang Yue deserved as a young lady of the city lord's mansion. Finally, he gave his eldest daughter as a concubine to Elder Xuanyuanshan, and even praised him for finding a good place for her. Tang Yue suddenly felt that her situation was not good. The crisis caused by the original owner's father was not small, but now she didn't have the strength to protect herself, so she had to endure hardships first. At this time, it is not appropriate to expose Tang Wenhua's true identity to Shui Yingru, as she still has unrealistic fantasies about the Lord's blessings. Tang Yue decided to first establish a good relationship with Shui Yingru and put a chopstick of meat into Lady Shui's bowl. "Mom, let's eat, I'm so hungry," she said. Shui Yingru leaned against her and said, "Chunlan, let's call someone to prepare the meal. Go and invite the lord of the city as well, let's eat together." In no time, the food was ready, mainly vegetables and fresh river food, but the city lord was not seen. Tang Yue tasted it and thought that there was finally something that made her feel that time travel was worth it. After eating for a while, the two started chatting and occasionally asked Chunlan, a servant disciple standing beside them. Chunlan suddenly mentioned the whereabouts of the city lord to Shui Yingru. "I heard that the city lord accompanied Mrs. Zhuang and Miss Wan to the street this morning. He said he wanted to pick some new clothes for Mrs. Zhuang to attend the private banquet of the Meng family the day after tomorrow." Shui Ying put down her chopsticks with a soft snap, and her face turned pale. The Meng family is not big or small, and also ranks 8th in power in the city. They did not send an invitation to her at a private banquet, but instead invited the Zhuang family. The Meng family doesn't care about offending her, the legitimate lady. Tang Yue noticed that Lady Shui was unhappy and wanted to divert her attention. She turned around slightly and said to her, "Mom, let's also go shopping for jewelry tomorrow. I haven't been out for a long time." Shui Yingru immediately refocused on her daughter's situation, thinking that she had been recovering for a few months and should indeed go out for a walk. She replied, "Okay, let's go to the jewelry store on the street tomorrow." Tang Yue acted coquettishly and said, "Mom, please pick me a few more magic weapons with defense. I'll buy you a few more defense treasures. I heard that Duobao Pavilion has come up with several items that don't require spiritual energy." Let's go take a look. Well, as a cultivator without spiritual energy, it's really embarrassing. She made up her mind and said, Mother, I will cause it to enter the body as soon as possible. After hearing these words, Xiuxian smiled softly and caressed her daughter's round head. Don't worry, I asked the Shangguan master for many spiritual formulas to help you cultivate. After taking them for a period of time, you can smoothly introduce qi into your body. The Lord of Shangguan is the head of the Shenong Hall in the city, who has already achieved early cultivation in the transformation of gods and possesses excellent medical skills. When Xiuxian grew married into Quenched city, the Shang family followed Xiuxian grew out of Wuji mountain and merged into Quenched city, which was considered a capable dowry family. Xiuxian grew then divided the medicine shop in the city to the Shang family for management. Mother, I want Fang Zi to have a beautiful appearance. Can you ask Master Shangguan to provide me with an additional spiritual formula to maintain my appearance? Tang Yue felt that this was a good time to complete tasks. It seems that as a second-generation cultivator, there are still many ways to improve my appearance. At a young age, why do you think about being beautiful? You are the legitimate daughter of Quenched city, don't learn from that woman with shallow eyelids. Besides, you look beautiful. Okay, Mom doesn't have an ugly child in her eyes. Mother, our family doesn't lack these medicinal herbs. I just want to eat them. This way, my heart will also improve and it will be beneficial for healing. Tang Yue couldn't give up, while disdaining herself and imitating a real 8-year-old child to act spoiled. Okay, I'll get you some more beauty recipes from Master Shangguan. Don't get addicted to them. Xiuxian grew is a serious second-generation cultivator. When she got married from Wuji Mountain, she brought a large amount of dowry and is also very good at spending money. She just thinks she can't let her daughter be too obsessed with her appearance, but it's not a big deal, just follow her daughter. Mother, I won't do it. I will prioritize cultivation, Tang Yue said, thinking to herself that beauty is much more important than cultivation. The key is to die. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Homestead Fighting Script. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Homestead Fighting Script. A month later, Madame Xue brought a small bag of pills and soup every day to urge Tang Yue to take it. Some were used to heal the wound, and some were used to help induce qi into the body, which made her feel a little psychological shadow when she saw the medicine. Tang Yue self-taught some basic pharmacology and discussed with Lady Xue to reduce the amount of tonics she needed, reduce the burden of absorption, and improve the efficacy, making it more suitable for her physical condition. The dosage of the spiritual medicine she had previously used was relatively high, and she felt a bit weak and didn't need to be replenished. The original owner also took many tonics in the book. In a short period of time, he reached the qi refining stage, which looked good, but in fact, it was very detrimental to the development and cultivation of the body. This cannot be blamed on the medicine prescribed by the master of the Shangguan. If it were not catalyzed like this, according to Tang Yue's qualifications, she would not be able to refine qi even at the age of 30. In terms of the original owner's nature, it would be unacceptable. However, cultivation always relies on one's own understanding. Even if the head of the Shenong Hall has excellent medical skills, he cannot replace himself in his efforts. How to cultivate the most suitable way requires the practitioner to explore on his own. Fortunately, she now has a wife of the city lord who has given her many classic herbs to tinker with, and is not afraid of wasting them. Only then did she test the most suitable dosage of pills. She also found that some Taoist fitness fist techniques used by ordinary people can help absorb medicine and improve physical fitness. After persisting in practicing martial arts for a period of time, she gradually sensed the internal and external breath of her body, and could even control the flow of gas throughout her body, dispelling the coldness and pain in her body. On weekdays, Tang Yue not only cultivates diligently, but also accompanies Lady Xue to handle things in the city, or goes shopping and drinks tea to cultivate a mother-daughter relationship. Now Lady Xue is her golden thigh, so it's not a problem to fulfill this filial piety. On that day, she went to her mother's flower hall and found a petite young woman standing in the hall talking. Carefully examining her face and combining it with the memories of the original owner in her mind, she remembered that this was her father's concubine Xiuxian, who was very favored and caused a lot of trouble for Xiuxian. Tang Yue thought it wouldn't be a good thing for this concubine to come, and her mother's expression wasn't very happy either. She smiled and approached, saying, "Mom, what are you busy with?" Xiuxian's face relaxed as she saw her daughter coming. Aunt Xiaohui asked her mother to come and withdraw some money, she said. Tang Yue turned her head to look at this little concubine, who was petite and lovable. She looked only a few years older than herself, and remembered that she was only a Jindan cultivator. In fact, she was even older than Xiuxian, and could keep her appearance from aging. It was probably because that father gave her many beauty-preserving pills. "Aunt Xiaohui, have you encountered any difficulties recently? It's impossible to call second lady and unite with her mother." Zhuang Xiaohui felt that the sound of her aunt was really harsh. She had always felt that she was the true love of the city lord and could afford to be called a lady, but in the legitimate territory, she still had to endure it. In the future, she would definitely give this proud mother and son a good look. It's Wanner who wants to follow her senior brother to work and experience. I think she's only in the middle stage of qi refining, so I'm begging madam to give her a defensive treasure for self-defense. Zhuang Xiaohui secretly felt proud that her own daughter was already in the process of refining qi, but what if Tang Yue in front of her was the legitimate daughter of the legitimate family? My qualifications are not good, and I haven't breathed air into my body yet. I can never compare to my daughter. Tang Yue realized that she was showcasing Tang Wan's excellence and mocked her own low qualifications, but she didn't care. She smiled and replied, "Aunt Zhuang, I think you were too thoughtful. Tomorrow is the Duobao Pavilion auction, let's go together and ask her father to buy some magic tools for us young people." She was not interested in wasting money and didn't want her mother to use magic tools to subsidize her concubine. "The Lord's affairs are busy, so it's not good to accompany us." Zhuang Xiaohui felt a bit embarrassed. In order to establish her obedient and sensible character in front of the Lord, she never took the initiative to ask for the Lord's things, so she turned to Xiuxian to ask for the magic weapon. Madame Xue loves face. In the past, she could bring out good things with just a few provocations. She thinks she can still handle it today, so naturally she doesn't want the city lord to know about it. Tang Yue didn't want to waste any more time with her. He said to the servant disciple Chunlan waiting outside the hall, "Senior sister Chunlan, go tell her father that our family will go to the Duobao Pavilion auction the day after tomorrow to see things. Auntie wants to pick a magic weapon for her sister." Chunlan hesitated and looked at his wife. Tang Yue raised her eyebrows. Chunlan didn't want to go. She continued to say to Chunlan, "Senior sister Chunlan, tell her father that our Lord's family has shown more appearances, which shows the harmony of our Lord's mansion." Madame Xue saw that her daughter persisted, so she had no choice but to follow her and say, "Chunlan, please go and pass the message to the Lord of the city. Coincidentally, our family has not had the opportunity to meet since the new year. Not to mention getting together, in fact, Xiuxian and Zhuang Xiaohui were not compatible. Tang Wenhua leaned towards Zhuang Xiaohui, and Tang Yue always caused trouble for Tang Wan. Every time we met, we would cause trouble, so Tang Wenhua would try to avoid 5 people appearing together in the past. Chunlan had no choice but to send a message to the city lord. Tang Yue saw that Lady Xue agreed with her, so she smiled and acted coquettishly towards her. The mother and son enjoyed each other and discussed what to eat for dinner, leaving Zhuang Xiaohui aside, ignoring her embarrassed expression. After a while, Chunlan returned and said that the city lord agreed to go to Duobao Pavilion together. Zhuang Xiaohui reluctantly smiled and left. When her breath disappeared outside the courtyard, Xiuxian said helplessly to her daughter, "I don't lack this magical tool. I'll just send a medium-level magical tool. Why did I do anything extra?" Mother, giving things is to make oneself happy. Where can there be a reason to make oneself angry by giving things to others? Tang Yue gave them so much, but Xiuxian still felt uneasy and kind-hearted towards the original owner of Shui Ingru. Why bother to give these people a discount? Moreover, in the original book, it was she who revealed to Xiuxian that the original owner was the 6 Ding Jade Maiden's destiny, and both male and female cultivators could break through the bottleneck and successfully ascend. Coincidentally, Lu Yangcheng, the elder of sword transmission at the main peak of Xianyuan Mountain, has been hovering for hundreds of years during the period of integration. The original owner has become his only hope for breakthrough, and he is determined to win. Lu Yangcheng already had a Taoist couple, who was the legitimate lineage of Xianyuan Mountain and was not easy to offend. Therefore, he threatened and lured Kunwa City, demanding that Tang Yue become a concubine. Under the persuasion of Zhuang Xiaohui, Tang Wenhua agreed to the marriage, and the original owner became the concubine of a man several hundred years older than himself. It was also from this incident that the original owner's mentality was completely distorted, and ultimately used a spell to curse Tang Wan. Tang Yue solemnly said to her mother, "Mother, promise me that you will never give anything to the mother and son in the west courtyard, otherwise I will be very sad and not conducive to my moral conscience." Mrs. Shui saw that she was using her own heart to talk about things and quickly said, okay, I won't give any extra things. Tang Yue received assurance and was much happier, but saw Chunlan approach Madame Shui and say, "Madam, I see that Madame Air is wearing a morning sun glow skirt from the Heavenly Works Pavilion. I heard that only one piece from the Heavenly Works Pavilion has been produced, with exquisite embroidery and hidden patterns. It is an exquisite treasure. Why did Madame Air wear it? It is the lord of the city." Madame Shui became angry again after hearing this, and even wanted to go out and question the city lord if he had taken her seriously. She had always agreed to this dress with the lord, and every time he agreed with her, he thought he would give it to her on her birthday, but he turned around and gave it to Zhuang Xiaohui. Tang Yue grabbed Lady Shui and said, "Mother, don't worry. I have a way to have my father come to find us." Mrs. Shui calmed down a bit and said, "What can I do? Your father hasn't seen anyone for half a month and he said he's busy with business. It turns out he's going to buy dresses for others." Tang Yue added a cup of tea to Ingru and turned to Chunlan, saying, "Senior sister Chunlan, you are so proficient in clothing. You can tell at a glance that it is the morning glow skirt of the Tiangong Pavilion. Neither my mother nor I can tell." At this moment, Chunlan also felt that she was too deliberate. For several months since Miss Air was injured, Lady Shui had been busy taking care of Miss Air. Later, it seemed like she was immersed in a mother-son relationship with Miss Air, without causing any disputes in the backyard. If she didn't actively stimulate Lady Shui's life, she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to complete the task assigned by Lady Zhuang and would be punished secretly. Chunlan hurriedly said, "I usually make some clothes for my wife, so I just pay attention to what kind of designs come out of the Tiangong Pavilion." Tang Yue praised her and said, "Senior sister Chunlan, it turns out that you have such great talent. It's usually my mother and I who neglect it." No, it's just basic knowledge." Chunlan felt uneasy in her heart. "My father often said that the clothes of many disciples in the city were rudimentary, which was not conducive to cultivation. He asked my mother to find ways to improve. I see that senior sister has such great talent, and this important responsibility belongs to you." Tang Yue acted like a bull who discovered 1,000 miles of horses. I can't do it." "Of course you can, mother. Let senior sister Chunlan take on the important responsibility of the clothing bureau. I think my father will be very happy." After her daughter's performance for a while, Lady Shui had completely calmed down. She realized that Chunlan might have been bribed long ago, which disrupted her own mind. She naturally agreed with her daughter's handling. "Chunlan, I didn't realize your talent before. I told the clothing bureau, you can go." Chunlan was shocked. The clothing bureau was mostly responsible for the outer disciples' Dao Yi, and they also had to rush to make a batch of clothes every month for free distribution to the scattered cultivators in the city. They often worked day and night, which was very hard. So the disciples of the clothing bureau don't have much time to practice. Most of them are poorly qualified chi refining cultivators and mortals who make clothes here, so they naturally don't have much cultivation materials to obtain. Going there on their own is like being expelled from the Lord's mansion. She hurriedly said to Lady Xue, Madam, Madame Xue didn't give Chunlan a chance to say a word more. She said coldly, all right, you go down and go to the garment bureau tomorrow. Madame Xue knew that she was impatient, but she was not foolish. After careful consideration of Chunlan's usual behavior, she let out a cold snort in her heart. Many disciples from other sects thought of doing miscellaneous things here, but she still wanted to be a person who eats inside and climbs outside. Chunlan knew she couldn't say anything more with Madame, so she had to go back first and find a solution for Madame Zhuang, so she silently withdrew. Mother, wait a moment, father will come. She frowned and winked at Lady Xue. Why are you so weird? Mrs. Xue felt that her daughter was smarter than before, which scared Tang Yue a bit. She was afraid that she would be seen as not the original and would be treated as a thief according to the law. She looked desolate and said, Mom, I just figured out a lot of things and thought that we both mother and son should be better to ourselves. Mrs. Xue thought she remembered her own father abandoning her in a critical moment, and quickly comforted her, saying, Your mother treated you well, and you won't suffer such terrible things again. Mother, I am also good to you. Tang Yue sincerely hopes that the mother of the original owner can be peaceful in this life. After all, she has borne the love belonging to the original owner, and naturally wants to repay the kindness of her family. Of course, this does not include Tang Wenhua. For the lord of the city, there is no family or love, only useful and useless people. The male protagonist, Chu Tianshu, is useful and talented. If he can lead the Kunwa city to develop and flourish, he is regarded as a parent-child, the legitimate daughter is useless. If her qualifications are low, she will be taken as a concubine for exchange of benefits. Tang Yue did not want to sacrifice his ambition as the lord of Tang City. There will naturally be a day when he will tear his face apart. Now that his strength is not enough, he can only endure it. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Lotus Quenched Body Classic. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Lotus Quenched Body Classic. The mother and daughter sat idle for a moment sipping tea, and as expected, Tang Wenhua arrived. Chunlan's complaint was not slow. The lord of Tang City didn't say anything and directly questioned, Ingru, Chunlan has served you for many years. How can she go to the outer gate clothing bureau? When Tang Yue saw someone coming, her eyes were filled with tears, as if she hadn't seen her family in years. She exclaimed excitedly, Dad, you finally came. It's been a long time since I was hurt. Tang Wenhua coughed awkwardly, realizing that he had indeed forgotten about his daughter these days. However, her injury was purely self-inflicted, and it was only natural for her to suffer some hardships. However, it was not appropriate to express her true attitude, so she could only reprimand lightly, I am discussing business with your mother, so please don't interrupt for now. Father, are you here for Chunlan? I saw that she has a talent for making clothes, and I also thought that you often said that cultivators in the city are not easy and don't even have good clothes, so let her go to relieve your worries and fulfill my filial piety on my behalf. Am I wrong? As the words fell, a tear fell from the corner of her eye, appearing very sad. Xue Ingru looked at her daughter's tears and became anxious. She glared angrily at the lord of Tang City and said, I didn't expect that my biological daughter not only couldn't be saved by her father, but also made a mistake in showing filial piety. I don't think Kunwa City can accommodate our mother and son anymore. Tang Wenhua didn't expect the situation to be so serious. He quickly advised, I'm just asking, after all, Chunlan has been serving you for many years, and there is also hard work without merit. How can she go to the outer gate to suffer? Now he felt that the outer gate was suffering, and when he called on others to share the same clothes and food as the outer gate disciples, he didn't think about these things. Tang Yue wiped her tears. After cultivating her internal energy, she can control her tears to fall freely. This skill is so convenient for acting in modern society, but she is also performing well now. Father, you usually teach us to live a simple life like disciples from the outer gate in order to strive for cultivation and understand their difficulties. This is the responsibility that children of the Lord's mansion should bear. Chunlan is a miscellaneous disciple of the Lord's mansion. How could going to the outer gate be like suffering? Tang Wenhua said these words at the time, but he didn't want to buy things for Tang Yue to save some money. He wouldn't have thought she would use them here, but he didn't want to contradict himself before saying something. Okay, then let Chunlan replace the Lord's mansion and do her part for the outer disciples. This is her job. Madame Xue's face looked much better at this moment. If she couldn't even deal with a suspected miscellaneous disciple, how could she be the Lord's wife? She recalled her old days and felt that she had been underestimated by the people in this city, feeling that she was easy to handle. She broke free from the filter of love for the first time and became suspicious of the Lord's actions. Tang Wenhua was unaware of Lady Xue's psychological changes and felt that she had not achieved her goal today. She didn't look for anything and was feeling unwell all over. So she said to Tang Yue, "You're not young anymore. You've been hanging around with your mother all day and haven't been able to breathe in yet. What do you say? From tomorrow onwards, you're not allowed to leave the room until you breathe in." As soon as Xue Yingru heard this, she became anxious again. Tang Yue took a step ahead of her and said, "All right, father, I will bring qi into my body to show filial piety." As soon as she finished speaking, she sat cross-legged on the wooden chair, pinching the formula with both hands, and her spiritual energy was in motion. In a moment, she introduced qi into her body, feeling the connection between her internal and external breath, and successfully entered the qi refining stage. She has been practicing quite well lately, and she had planned to infuse her energy into her body tonight. Xue Yingru was overjoyed and worried about her daughter's cultivation for many days. Today, she finally embarked on the path of cultivation. Excitedly, she pulled up her daughter's hands and said, "Yue, you have successfully entered the body. I knew you could do it." The Tang City Lord was not as excited anymore, but felt a bit embarrassed. He felt that Tang Yue was deliberately confronting him, and he became even more displeased with her. He casually said, "Just bring qi into your body, but you entered the qi refining stage relatively late. You still need to work hard to cultivate. Tomorrow, go to the front of the main hall and practice the 7-star sword with your disciples." The 7-star sword is an entry-level sword technique in Quenched City, which everyone in the city knows. During the qi refining period, inner disciples and outer disciples need to practice swordsmanship together to exercise their body and mind. The 7-star sword is a good entry-level sword technique that helps to strengthen the body and can be used against enemies in critical situations, and has the effect of warding off evil and subduing demons. Tang Yue agreed to let it go when she saw it was good, and if it made the city lord unhappy again, she wouldn't be able to handle it. She nodded and said, "Dad, I will go." The lord of Tang City reluctantly replied a few words, but was left to eat. He had never liked the arrogance of Xue Yingru before, but preferred a gentle woman like Zhuang Xiaohui, who was as gentle as water and everything went according to his wishes. In order to promote the development of Quenched City, he accepted a commercial alliance and voluntarily sacrificed a lot. He was unwilling to come to Xue Yingru's side on weekdays. This meal was a bit unappetizing for him, especially since he had already opened a valley. Eating was just to add some fun, and he didn't find it interesting here at all. Tang Yue felt inexplicably pleased when he saw that the city lord was feeling uncomfortable. He insisted on experiencing his father's love and kept him until midnight. He didn't stop trying to persuade him until he saw that he was about to get angry. Before leaving, he deliberately added obstacles and said, "Father, tomorrow our family will go to Duobao Pavilion. You will definitely buy me and my sister beautiful self-defense weapons. Tang Wenhua thought about breaking his wealth tomorrow, and his mood became even worse. Practicality is the main focus of magic tools. How can we look at their appearance? Tang Yue went in one ear and out the other, not tired or afraid of preaching. Instead, she looked innocent and admiring. Then listen to your father. I believe he loves us so much and will definitely give us expensive magic tools. The Lord of Tang did not answer again, asking the water lady and daughter not to send any more. He quickly walked out of Lady Water's Ruoshui residence alone. That stingy figure, I really don't know what Lady Shui is interested in him. In fact, Tang Wenhua cannot be blamed. Kunwa City is in the development stage and has many places to use money. He himself lives very frugally on weekdays. When it was time to put on a facade, the Tang City Lord was still very capable, such as forging the Red Sky Sword for the male lead Chu Tianshu, using valuable genius treasures. He felt it was a waste to use good things on waste materials like Tang Yue. The next day, Lady Shui woke up Tang Yue very early and asked her to prepare to go to Duobao Pavilion. I have no choice but to dig my own pit. Even if I am tired, I will let the Lord of Tang fall into it. When she arrived at the gate, she realized that not only the Lord's family was going, but the former male protagonist Chu Tianshu was also waiting for them to go together at the door. It seemed that Tang Wenhua had already regarded this cultivation genius with soaring energy as the legitimate lineage of the Lord. Chu Tianshu saw that it was Tang Yue, but his expression remained motionless. He calmly greeted him and said, "Junior sister, it's been a long time no see." Tang Yue also replied to him with a "long time no see," and then got on the carriage. This surprised Chu Tianshu a bit. Tang Yue always likes to stick to him on weekdays and can't shake him off when we meet. Today is abnormal. Is it because she harbors resentment towards everyone after being injured? I need to remind Awan later not to let her suffer inexplicably. At this time, the original male protagonist could not have had any thoughts about Tang Wan, a 9-year-old girl. He just felt that Tang Wan, as a commoner, had a soft and lovely personality, and probably had to endure the hardships of his noble legitimate mother and unruly legitimate sister in the mansion. Therefore, he would take more care of his master's eldest daughter on a daily basis. After a while, Tang Wan got into the car and spoke cautiously to Tang Yue, "Sister, your injury has healed a lot, hasn't it?" Tang Yue was puzzled. Sisters didn't get along so well in memory, did they? She didn't expect that the original male lead had spoken ill and politely replied, "Thank you for your concern, sister. I'm much better now." Tang Wan remembered that Tang Yue was already able to infuse qi into her body. Although her senior brother said that her 3 spirit roots had poor aptitude and that it would take another 3 to 5 years for qi to be infused into her body, she wondered how many good medicines Lady Shui had used. She asked, "Sister, I heard you have already infused qi into your body." Tang Yue was wandering in the sky, contemplating the classics she had recently read and searching for knowledge, when she casually replied to her, "Yes." Tang Wan wanted to inquire about what spiritual soup and pill she had used. "What method did my younger sister use? Let me know so that I can gain some insights," he said. Tang Yue recalled that his sister had let her play too much, and he also followed her in acting, sighed, and said slowly in a tone that had gone through many vicissitudes. "Sister, you don't know my pain. Sister, you know, since that day when I was playful and accidentally entered the Spirit Beast Academy with you, my father. After that, I have felt great inner pain. One day, I realized that I should protect myself, so I took my breath into my body." Upon hearing these words, Tang Wan's face looked a bit ugly. She actually said this thing in such a way. It was clearly her bad intentions and self-inflicted consequences, and she also said inside and outside that it was her father's favoritism. I have no evidence to prove that she did it myself. After the fierce beast went berserk, his father did indeed save him first. Tang Yue was like a mortal, unable to avoid being seriously injured, so he no longer had any moral advantage in this matter. She could only say a few comforting words. "Sister, there's no need to be sad. Father's actions are just a temporary compromise." Tang Yue used the ultimate move to end the conversation. "Sister, you don't need to comfort me, I understand." As she spoke, her gaze drifted towards the window, looking as if she had seen through it. Tang Yuan couldn't say anything more. After all, not being chosen by his biological father was indeed a big blow, and if he continued, it would make him appear ungrateful. The carriage finally quieted down. Tang Yue had no desire to communicate with Tang Yuan, and she didn't particularly dislike the original female lead. It was just that the two mothers had conflicting interests, so it was better to maintain a good relationship between the well and the river. The Duobao Pavilion is built in the octagonal tower in the central area of the city. The carriage departs from the Northern Lord's mansion and will arrive in a short while. They were not allowed to fly in the city, so they took the Baoguang carriage with a logo to show the harmonious relationship between the city lord's mansion and the prosperity of their family. The Lord of Duobao Pavilion is already waiting at the door. After they got off the carriage, they led the pedestrians into the private room on the top floor specifically for receiving distinguished guests, so that distinguished guests did not have to squeeze together with the cultivators downstairs. The commercial development of the cultivation world is very good, and there will be auction houses in densely populated areas. The main products to be auctioned are local specialties, such as high-quality Kunwu sword stones. In addition to directly booking with Kunwu City, you will have to try your luck at the Kunwu City auction. The specialties of other sects will also be auctioned here and provided to the cultivators in Kunwu City. Auction is a sequential auction based on different price ranges, from low to high. The value of the previous items is not high, and the people in their private rooms did not participate in the bidding. However, Xue Yingru also explained the items to Tang Yue in a low voice, hoping to broaden her horizons. On the other side, Chu Tianshu was also quietly explaining to Tang Yuan. Don't be fooled by Chu Tianshu, who is now 15 years old and almost ready to take the elixir of gold. He has traveled many times and is known for his extensive knowledge. In addition, he has an ancient compass with treasure hunting fingers, which not only has the effect of treasure hunting, but also knows the names, grades, and usage of all the treasures. After a while, Chu Tianshu asked Tang Yuan to take a picture of a mysterious defense artifact called 100 Birds Facing the Phoenix Skirt. Tang Yue remembered the description in the book that the embroidered magic array on this skirt was very advanced, which saved Tang Yuan many times. Eventually, it gradually upgraded to an exquisite treasure, which turned out to be taken here. Tang Yue also didn't want to grab this thing. The original owner's mother had too many good things, including top-quality magic treasures and spiritual treasures, and occasionally gave her some magic tools to play with. The level of treasures and magical tools is divided into 4 classes: Heaven, Earth, Black, and Yellow. There are also many magical tools that cannot be rated as inferior. She is now indifferent to treasures below the prefecture level. After all, she is now the daughter of the city lord's wife, and her mother also comes from the top 3 major sects of Wuji Mountain in the Liuzhou continent. If it were in the mortal dynasty, she could also be considered a princess. The martial arts are already being auctioned off downstairs. Some sects and families will auction off their external martial arts, which can also be considered a way to promote the development of the cultivation world and benefit other cultivators. If you are lucky enough to meet a poor cultivator, you can also buy techniques that are usually not passed down externally. The current martial arts classic on stage is called Lotus Quenching Body Technique, which is a top-grade martial arts technique with a faint green light lingering on it. It is the spiritual essence of the book that embodies the wisdom of the cultivator. The cultivation method comes from the Flower Moon City, and cultivators can use it to cultivate before the golden elixir period. The starting price is 100 top-grade spirit stones. However, this cultivation technique is not more powerful than other techniques, nor does it accelerate the cultivation speed. It only has the function of beauty and beauty. If a cultivator practices this technique before the age of 16, their appearance will become more beautiful than what they could have grown into. This cultivation method is very disappointing for other cultivators. Those with good spiritual roots and talent are naturally good-looking, and as their cultivation deepens, their appearance will also increase. A cultivator with poor talent cannot use this technique to beautify their appearance before the age of 16, as they are unable to infuse qi into their body. But this cultivation method perfectly fits Tang Yue's desire to become beautiful and use medicinal power to catalyze the waste wood of the 3 spiritual roots that enters the body at the age of 8. Therefore, she immediately said to Lady Xue, "Mother, I want this cultivation method." Tang Wenhua heard her say that she wanted this technique that only had the effect of becoming beautiful, and immediately scolded her. "Nonsense, cultivators should focus on cultivating a pure heart. How can they spend time on their appearance?" Tang Yue said, "This is because my life depends on my appearance." So she looked at Lady Xue with tears in her eyes and a look of grievance. Xue Yingru couldn't bear to see Tang Wenhua's seemingly strict but actually devoid of any favor. She was slightly dissatisfied and said, "It's just a martial arts technique. If Yue likes it, just give it to her. Why should she be so grand?" She asked the accompanying miscellaneous disciples to raise a sign and bid, and Tang Wenhua could only helplessly say, "Madam, you will spoil her like this." Xue Yingru replied to him, "I only have this one daughter, unlike you who have 2 daughters and a good disciple. If I don't spoil her, who else should I spoil?" This made the Lord of Tang unable to connect, so he could only smile and change the topic, and no longer stop Xue Yingru from spending money. He still had to maintain surface harmony with the Lord's wife. Only a female cultivator downstairs was bidding for this martial arts technique with Lady Xue. Seeing that the bidder was the Lord's private room upstairs, she did not make another bid. Therefore, Lady Xue won this martial arts technique for a price of 150 top-grade spirit stones, which was not too expensive. The next item to be auctioned off is the Chu Tianshu Secret Realm token, which will be open to cultivators during the foundation building period for training. Among them, there are not only genius treasures and spirit beasts, but also the most precious is the Kunwu sword stone. Every year, disciples find the heavenly and even the ultimate sword stone from it. Therefore, each sect sends people to participate in the Kunwu city auction every year, buy some tokens back, and provide them to the inner gate sword cultivators, so that they have the opportunity to obtain a good sword stone to make their own destiny sword. The owner of the Tang dynasty introduced the situation to his family. The main buyers of the Secret Realm token this time are Yang Gulan from Xianyuan Mountain and Ji Chongguang from Shangqing Palace. These 2 are the leaders of the younger generations of the 2 factions and hold important responsibilities in the sect. After the auction is over, you young people need to meet and have many social interactions in the future. Tang Yue thought this was mainly meant for Chu Tianshu. He started networking so early, and the male lead is not inferior to Long Outyan. She also remembered that Yang Gulan would be a good sisters of Tang Wan, the female leader, who had practiced together and spent many times in life and death. Meeting today was also a foundation for future friendship. Tang Yue felt that it was appropriate for her to show her face, but she did not intend to participate in the male and female lead team. She was a newcomer, and according to tradition, staying away from the male and female leads was the only way to save her life. Therefore, she only planned to do superficial work with Ji Yang and the other 2. Her mindset is naturally not as well prepared as Tang Wan's. Tang Wan carefully prepared a meeting gift for Ji and Yang, and immediately won the favor of Yang Gulan. Ji Chongguang's attitude was not obvious, but rather thoughtful. But the gifts Tang Yue casually took out were all good things, not impolite, and with a few polite words, they could also be considered a decent social event. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Best friends, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Best Friends. A cultivator who has just introduced spiritual energy into their body cannot immediately use spiritual energy to cast spells. They need to drive spiritual energy to circulate in their body for several cycles, fully infiltrate their spiritual meridians, and become accustomed to the existence of spiritual energy in their body before they can use it to cultivate their body and mind and use moves. Only then can they enter the first level of qi refining. The Lotus body quenching technique provides detailed cultivation methods for each level of the qi refining period, and emphasizes the use of spiritual energy to nourish the body both inside and outside, improving physical fitness. After following the magic formula for several cycles, Tang Yue found that the stagnation of her spiritual meridians gradually improved, and the amount of spiritual energy absorbed by the spell ring also increased. This technique is indeed suitable for her physique. The book also provides mental techniques that help to utilize and absorb elixirs, reduce erysipelas. She tried the elixirs and found that there were waves of coolness in the heart-opening spell ring, which seeped into the heart and spleen, greatly reducing the piercing pain that often accompanies her body. Through spiritual observation, it was discovered that the elixir had integrated into the body and gathered at the mouth of the heart. After being filtered through a spell ring, it slowly dissipated into a faint green color. She sensed the green dots and emitted a slight hint of vegetation, slightly improving the quality of her woody roots. Tang Yue always thought that this resentful spell ring was just a supervisor urging her to undergo beauty, but she didn't expect it to have the effect of refining the spiritual energy of the 5 elements, which was also somewhat useful. Practicing is a gradual process, and there is no rush. After meditating for a few hours, she took out the crystal lens and matching metal frame that she had ordered in her mother's shop a few days ago. Now Tang Yue needs to solve her biggest question about the cultivation world: is there any existence of microorganisms in this world? Since one day she remembered this question, she felt uncomfortable eating and sleeping without verifying it. Fortunately, she has read a lot of miscellaneous books in modern times and has a rough understanding of how to operate a microscope. After installing the microscope, dropping a drop of river water, and adjusting multiple times, she really saw small swimming creatures. Tang Yue dropped a small drop of diluted sugar water onto the crystal slide, and these microorganisms swam towards the sugar water, sucking on it. It can be seen that the microorganisms in the cultivation world are also carbon-based creatures and do not directly rely on spiritual energy for survival. However, Tang Yue found that there were fewer microorganisms in the water droplets than she had seen in the technological society, and she also observed the microorganisms on the surfaces of other materials, resulting in a much smaller number of microorganisms. Perhaps some microorganisms cannot be seen with a microscope, and can only be seen with spiritual energy, which requires her to increase her cultivation and cultivate her eyesight. She went to her mother's library in an attempt to find some cultivation techniques that could enhance her eyesight. Thanks to Xiuxian bringing a large number of books from Wuji Mountain and marrying them into Quenched City, otherwise she would have been putting in a lot of effort to inquire about where there are relevant magic formulas. I heard that most of the books in the library pavilion were also copied from the library of the Lady of the City Lord. Otherwise, Quenched City would not be able to gather all the books in one pavilion, nor could it attract many scattered cultivators who needed to read classics to join. It seems that Wuji Mountain, in order to gain the power of Quenched City, has invested heavily in the alliance of Xiuxian Tang culture, even willing to give valuable scriptures of the sect. The goal must be quite significant. In the world of cultivation, it is customary to categorize classic books and then use magic to carve the table of contents into jade plaques. This way, by using divine sense to explore the jade plaques, one can search through the book list and find books, which is also more convenient. She flipped through it but couldn't find a very useful technique, which was mostly recorded in other techniques as a supplementary cultivation. There were not many ways to specifically cultivate eyesight. One of the techniques for cultivating the heavenly eye is called the heavenly eye technique, which is used to assist in physiognomy. After cultivation, it can help with observing stars, feng shui, physiognomy, etc. However, It also has the effect of enhancing eyesight, as both feng shui and astrology require good eyesight to see clearly. She took out this book and put it in her book basket, intending to take it with her first. When she had time, she would practice it, which was better than nothing. While Tang Yue was engrossed in reading, the servant's senior brother transmitted a message to inform Baopu Guyu of her visit. She thought about who this was, probably the plastic honeymoon Yen Ling from the original book, who was 1 year older than herself and often used the original owner as a gun. She didn't want to distance herself from others at once. It was too abrupt, so she had to ask the servant's senior brother to welcome her in and see what this month's senior sister wanted to do. The two exchanged pleasantries for a while. The senior sister who met for the first time came to visit Tang Yue and brought some pills that would help the qi refining cultivator practice. She spoke softly to her and said, "Ah Yue, I have asked my master to refine some pills for disciples during the qi refining period to help you practice. I will bring them to you." Tang Yue carefully looked at the pill, which was full of spiritual energy. There were faint patterns on the pill body, and it turned out to be a top-grade pill. The specific grade should be around the prefecture level. This may have been deliberately crafted by the lord of the Baopu Pavilion in order to maintain a relationship with the lady of the city lord. She asked her disciple Yu Yenling to give it to Tang Yue, but Yu Yenling claimed that she had taken the initiative to beg for it. Tang Yue smiled slightly and said, "Thank you very much for your kindness, senior sister Yu. But why did you come to see me now? I thought you had forgotten about me." Yu Yenling felt a bit embarrassed and quickly explained, "We have such a good relationship, how could I forget you? I was afraid of disturbing your recovery before, and I heard that you could go out to the auction. That's when I finally came to see you." Tang Yue was also too lazy to expose her. Although she was afraid of being implicated by herself, she said it was her own concern. She politely and perfunctorily said a few words and casually asked, "What have senior sisters been busy with these days?" Upon hearing these words, senior sister Yu suddenly became excited and said, "Besides my daily studies, I've been going to the spring market recently. This year is the Chinese New Year, and many vendors from Flower and Moon City come to set up stalls. I thought you hadn't left for a long time, so I came to find you." Tang Yue recalled shopping with elder martial sister Yu in the past. They often bought a lot of things and the original owner paid the bill. However, many things went into Yu Yenling's pocket. It was clear that she had come to find herself a big enemy today. Although she understood the purpose of Yu Yenling's visit, she still decided to go to spring market with her. Baopu Pavilion was a small sect that accompanied Lady Shui during her marriage alliance with Tang Wenhua. It was originally a branch of Wuji Mountain and was specifically requested by Tang Wenhua during the alliance. The development time of Kunhua City is too short, and there are no good alchemists, which is very unfavorable for the cultivation of cultivators in the city. When one's cultivation is stuck at the edge of the realm, taking some pills can break through. Special pills also have the effect of quenching the body and replenishing spiritual energy. Therefore, alchemists are very important for enhancing the strength of the sect family. Baopu Gu advocates that Xuanlu was originally a named disciple of Lady Shui's father, who practiced alchemy in talismanship. He led his disciples to develop in the Wuji Mountain and was highly valued, receiving the same treatment as his inner disciples. Although his cultivation level is only 10 levels of Yuanying, he is a somewhat renowned Dan Fu master who joined Kunhua City with his followers, instantly enhancing the strength of Kunhua City. Baopu Pavilion is also a part of the Lady of the City Lord's lineage. Tang Yue cannot destroy the relationship between her mother and Baopu Pavilion, so it is naturally difficult to refuse senior sister Yu. Although it is not likely that the Lord Zhang Xuanlu cares much about this female disciple, he must be concerned about her face. She thinks this is the social burden of the second generation of Xiu. However, compared to the benefits she gained, this idea is completely insincere, and she also wants to go and see the excitement of spring market. So she said to Yu Yenling, "Okay, wait a moment, senior sister Yu, let me go change my clothes. There are many good things in the spring market, junior sister. You should bring more spirit stones. Yu Yanling was afraid that this spoiled junior sister would forget too much and forget to bring spirit stones when the time came. Spring Market is located near Duobao Pavilion, which is a commercial area with a high flow of people. There are indeed many exquisite magical tools and treasures from Flower Moon City on the market, many of which are made into hairpins, bracelets, and other styles and are specifically provided to female practitioners. It seems that regardless of the world, women are the main force of buying and selling. After strolling for a while, Yu Yanling had already recommended the products from head to toe, which made people suspect that she was actually a support, with kickbacks. Tang Yue is not very interested in these things. There are enough things in her mother's treasure trove, and there are very few ordinary magical tools that can be added. However, she also had patience to listen and didn't interrupt Yu Yanling much, just as it was to broaden her horizons. Senior sister Yu saw that she had been talking for a while, and this usually generous junior sister had not bought a single one, so she stopped being enthusiastic. She had originally planned to grab a yellow-level magic weapon, but it seems that today's thought was in vain. On the contrary, Tang Yue saw that she was indeed putting in a lot of effort and invited her to eat some food, which could also be considered as a reward for her explanation. The two of them sat at the snack stand at the end of the street drinking spring ice drinks. The cultivator was in good health and could eat and drink anything he wanted all year round, regardless of whether he wanted to gain weight or not. This was quite convenient for foodies. Tang Yue casually scanned the surroundings and found that the opposite Shenong Hall was recruiting apprentices. She took a promotional paper and read the requirements. The conditions for apprentices in the pharmacy are relatively relaxed, so there is no need to go every day. Just go to study and work a few times a week. The form is somewhat similar to an internship in modern society, where the head teaches some herbal knowledge, apprentices help with miscellaneous tasks as tuition fees, and talented individuals can also become external disciples to learn some medical skills. There are still medical practices in the world of cultivating immortals. Their original intention is to treat illnesses, save lives, and aid the wounded. They not only treat seriously injured cultivators, but also regularly and free treat ordinary and low-level cultivators, as a way to cultivate their spiritual cultivation. What are the differences between the treatment methods used in medical ethics and the Dan ethics? This is exactly what Tang Yue wants to learn. Moreover, she usually has to research her own nourishing and beauty plans, so it would definitely be helpful to systematically learn about the medical knowledge of Xiuxian realm. So she took a bamboo slip for answering questions, and as long as she answered the questions on the bamboo slip, she could become an apprentice. Answers can turn to books or seek help from people who understand herbs, because the purpose of the questions is not to inquire about the apprentice's knowledge, but to allow the apprentice to have a preliminary understanding of basic herbs through answering the questions. After all, most people who have not yet become apprentices are ignorant. Tang Yue carefully read the question and realized that she only knew a small number of herbs. She turned to seek help from Yu Yanling, who is a practitioner of alchemy and talismanship. She recognized gold, stone, plants, and trees without hesitation. Senior sister, I'll give you a yellow-grade magic tool that can be used during the Qi refining period. The Qi refining period magic tool doesn't need to be too good, the yellow grade is enough, much better than the lower grade. Why are you so embarrassed? Yu Yanling was very happy and didn't know why her junior sister suddenly regained her normal generosity. Senior sister, please teach me the apprentice question at the Shenong Hall. Once it's passed, let's go buy magic tools. Yu Yanling thought that Tang Yue was just on the rise. She was the second miss of the Lord's mansion. How could she bear the hardships of being a miscellaneous apprentice? Counseling, junior sister, don't think apprentices at Shenong Hall are fun. Usually, you have to collect spiritual herbs and fruits, deal with medicinal herbs, and sometimes go to dirty mud ponds to catch spiritual insects. You can't stand this. Tang Yue smiled and said, Senior sister, I know. I just want to learn something to make my mother feel that I am more sensible, so she will be happy." Upon hearing Tang Yu's insistence, Yu Yanling followed her. Besides, she still had yellow-grade magical tools to take, and the spiritual stones she had saved up hard every month couldn't buy yellow-grade magical tools. "Okay, if you can't bear the hardship in the future, don't blame me," she said. Tang Yue felt amused. The image of Miss Jiao, who was unable to carry her shoulders or lift her hands, was truly ingrained in people's hearts. She replied, "Senior sister, I won't do it." Yu Yanling is very serious about practicing Taoism, and she remembers the basic herbs very well. The two of them spent half an hour answering the questions on the bamboo slips. Tang Yue successfully obtained the apprenticeship qualification and memorized all the herbs on the bamboo slips. In modern society, her memory is very good, and after arriving at the cultivation world, she is basically not familiar with them. It is likely that practicing can also improve her mental ability. The Shenanguan gave her a complete collection of herbs and told her to remember them as much as possible. A week later, when the pharmacy started classes, they helped. "Senior sister, let's go and see the magic tools." Yu Yanling listened to her promise and smiled sincerely. "Junior sister, I want a small cauldron for alchemy. Master will teach me the basics of alchemy in a few months, but I don't have a suitable cauldron yet." After buying a cauldron, Yu Yanling escorted her back to the mansion without leaving for dinner, and she still looked very happy as she left. She also believes that her plastic best friend relationship with Yu Yanling can continue. After all, she is older than herself and has a 6th level cultivation in qi refining, so she can still do many things. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Zixiao Mansion School. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Zixiao Mansion School. In the city, not only the Shenong Hall is recruiting apprentices, but also the Tiangong Refining Tower is recruiting apprentices, and the conditions are relatively arbitrary. The two factions are not really looking for some cheap labor, but are responding to the Lord's call to give low-level cultivators and ordinary people in the city an opportunity to learn skills, so as to cultivate more talented people and prosper Quenched City. It has to be said that Tang Wenhua is actually a capable city lord, and he will push forward anything that contributes to the development of Quenched City. Tang Yue thought that she likes to do many things that she can't by now, and doing them herself is more in line with her heart than asking the alchemist for help. Low-level craftsmen generally cannot produce what she wants, and high-level alchemists are too lazy to pay attention to her small tasks. Therefore, it is better for her to do it herself and have plenty of food and clothing. She went to the Tiangong Refining Building on East Street to register, and the process went very smoothly. The staff and shopkeeper of the refining building knew her, but they only advised her to think twice. The apprentice was quite hard-working, afraid she couldn't bear it. "I wouldn't refuse her, after all, no one would miss this opportunity to get close to the Lord's family." In this way, she goes to the Shenong Hall to study 1 day a week and the Tiangong Refining Building 1 day, without delaying her daily cultivation. Madame Xue originally hoped that she would have more exposure to kendo. She herself is a practitioner of inner alchemy, but the entire Liuzhou focuses on practicing swordsmanship. The first major sect, Xianyuan Mountain, is the sword sect, and Quenched City is the sword city. The daughter of the city lord naturally excels in practicing swordsmanship. However, since Tang Yue was seriously injured, she has been more obedient to him. She can do whatever she wants, and being an apprentice is much better than being depressed or acting around all day like in the past. Say hello to the pharmacy and refining workshop, and take good care of them. So the apprentices who worked with Tang Yue on the same day were relatively happy. They could benefit from the daughter of the city lord, learn more, and do less. The work assigned by the masters was mostly for practice, rather than tedious repetitive labor. She improved the microscope using the methods she learned in the refining workshop, and indeed, she could see smaller microorganisms. With nothing to do, Tang Yue posted her observation results and the method of making a microscope on the observation mirror. She also felt magical when she first saw the mirror of observing the world. The mirror of observing the world looked like an ordinary handheld bronze mirror, which could be used to explore spiritual consciousness, view content, and engrave it into articles. The requirement for divine consciousness is not high, and it can be used as long as air is introduced into the body. Ling Jing is like a rudimentary tablet computer. Although it only has black and white colors, it can automatically receive different newspaper and magazine content. For example, the Liuzhou Chronicles of Liuzhou Continent and the official Kunwa Mansion newspaper also exist in Kunwa City. Monks can also submit articles to newspapers and magazines, and there are dedicated monks responsible for reviewing them. Once approved, they can be published. The author will receive some spirit stones as compensation, but most cultivators only publish articles for their interests, and cultivating immortals is their main business. I heard that this worldview mirror was created by a great bull from Penglai Island. He used the simplest materials to refine a spirit mirror that can transmit text over long distances. When using it, only a small amount of spirit stones need to be placed, which is very convenient. I think this great master is also someone with ideas. He has created such a cost-effective small magical tool that is easy to promote. Nowadays, almost every cultivator has a worldview mirror to understand the world's affairs. The newspaper published by Tang Yue is called Idle Talk. The content in this newspaper is not mainly about cultivation, alchemy, and refining tools, but rather records many interesting things in life. She thought that microscopes and microorganisms were also interesting, so she posted it. After an afternoon, the article was approved. The editor-in-chief of Idle Talk expressed great interest in her article. In the past, high-level cultivators have also talked about this micro-spirit insect, but they are busy ascending and will not delve into it much. She also said that the microscope she made is very good. High-level cultivators can observe micro-spirit insects with their naked eyes, while low-level cultivators and mortals cannot see the existence of micro-spirit insects and only treat it as a fabricated strange news to blame him. However, the microscope she invented can also allow mortals to observe micro-spirit insects, which is really a good thing. Tang Yue replied that she had only borrowed other people's methods, and she did not want to claim the credit of Leeuwenhoek. The detailed production method was also sent to the editor-in-chief. The young master of Kunlun Palace over there, Yu Yuan, received this detailed microscope-making method and felt that this cultivator was someone who was willing to share. Coincidentally, he was in a good mood today, so he casually returned a method for cultivating eyesight to this cultivator, hoping that he could write more articles about micro-spirit insects. Most people in the world know nothing about the Weiling bug, and with his article, Idle Talk, can add some exclusive content. Tang Yue was greatly surprised to receive the Dharma decision. Could it be that the atmosphere in the cultivation world is so good that everyone is willing to preach and share knowledge? I also think that the cultivators in the city often fight to the death for half of their Dharma determination skills. It seems that this editor-in-chief has a noble character and enjoys helping others. If the young palace lord Yu Yuan could laugh to death upon hearing her evaluation, someone would say that he is a good person. The next day, my mother came to discuss with her about going to the Zixiao mansion school. Although she is not yet able to freely use spiritual energy and has not reached the first level of qi refining, she generally does not go to the monastery to listen to lectures. However, Xiuer always has special treatment. Besides, the city lord can't see her being idle all day long, so he wants to arrange her to go to class. It's no different from the parents who send their children to cram school when they think their children are too idle in modern society. Tang Yue felt that systematic learning was a good thing, so she agreed to go to the university. Zixiao Mansion recruits its own disciples and is also responsible for the education of cultivators in the city. It is equivalent to a university in Kunwa City, accepting outstanding cultivators from the city, regardless of their background. The paths practiced by cultivators vary greatly, and there is always a need to learn general knowledge. For example, the Danding Talisman, the formation and physiognomy, as well as Taoist classics, the insights and experiences of our ancestors in practicing Taoism, therefore the existence of educational institutions is still necessary. The cultivators who walked out of Zixiao Mansion have a connection with Zixiao Mansion. When walking outside, they can still establish a relationship with each other. Therefore, Zixiao Mansion has a high status in the hearts of the people of Quenched City. Whether it is a casual cultivator or a disciple of a noble family or sect, they are eager to enroll and take pride in achieving results in this first school in Quenched City. Tang Yue didn't go to school alone today, so Yu Yanling was naturally sent to attend school with her. Shang Fangling, the only daughter of the head of the Shenong Hall, also came to the Lord's mansion. She was specially invited by the Lord's wife because she was worried that Tang Yue wouldn't adapt. During the Qi refining period, disciples can only take one course called General Knowledge of Taoism, which is taught by the Golden Elixir cultivators. The purpose is to enable disciples during the Qi refining period to have a better understanding of various paths. During the Golden Elixir period, they must decide on the path they want to take. In the Quenched City of the Garden, many cultivators practiced swordsmanship. After Xiuxian grew married into the city, she brought many cultivators from other paths, so there were also more cultivators practicing alchemy and refining weapons in the city. Today's class is taught by a swordsmanship cultivator. Yu Yanling usually doesn't attend swordsmanship classes, but Shang Fangling has already heard of it. The two of them are specifically here to accompany Tang Yue in class. The course, General Knowledge of Taoism, is very interesting, with various content related to the path being taught in a loop. If you missed this section of this issue, you can go to the next one. It is not mandatory for disciples to attend the class, as long as they listen to what is useful to them. At the end of the year, choose the direction you have learned to take the exam. Tang Yue did not expect the training arrangement of the cultivator school to be so free and flexible, and such a curriculum is still very scientific. There was still some time before class, and Tang Yue chatted with the two of them, two senior sisters. This is my first time attending a class at the school. Is there anything I need to pay attention to? Yu Yanling took the conversation first and said, Junior sister, there's nothing special. Don't be noisy in class, remember the key points, and just take the exam at the end of the year. This class is taught by Jindan Sword Cultivator, and it should be helpful for your future cultivation. Yu Yanling thought that Tang Yue would definitely practice swordsmanship. In the original book, Tang Yue did indeed practice swordsmanship, but now she has not decided what path to practice. She smiled and replied, okay, I will listen carefully. Shang Fangling is usually quiet and simple, but as Sister Yu said, there are not many rules in the Qi training course, just listen carefully. Later, the few of them chatted a few more words, and suddenly a man came from her left side shouting, Tang Yue, how could you not apologize to your sister and shamelessly come to the school and appear in public? She turned her head and saw a young man dressed in a blue brocade robe, about 12 years old, with an ordinary face, standing at the table with a righteous and indignant expression. Who are you? Why can't I come to this school? Is the school owned by your family? The young man was furious when he heard that she didn't remember him. You are so arrogant, relying on your identity as the miss of the Lord's mansion. Tang Yue sneered lightly and naturally wanted to live up to her identity as the second-generation cultivator. Since you know I am the daughter of the city lord, you should understand that this school was established by my father and funded by Chionghua Hall, which is managed by my mother. Why can't I, the young lady of the city lord, come instead? Do you want to become the city lord and drive me out of the city? The boy's expression became even more excited as he heard her casually hat up. You're talking nonsense, how could I offend the Lord? At this moment, Tang Wan, who was standing behind the young man, stood up and said, Sister, how can you slander junior brother Jinbao? Tang Yue only then realized that the female lead was also here, and as soon as she spoke, she pulled aside. Sister, what do you mean by this? I don't know this person. He's about to expel me from school as soon as he comes. Are you also helping her bully me? She tearfully looked aggrieved and asked who Yu Yanling was next to her. She really doesn't remember the plot of Passers-by A, B, and C. Yu Yanling approached her and whispered to her, "This is Chen Jinbao, the third disciple of the Lord of Zixiao Mansion. We always attend the city banquet together during festivals. How come you don't know him?" Tang Yue still didn't remember it, but remembered that the Lord of Zixiao Mansion was the senior brother of the city lord, with a very domineering personality. He had always been dissatisfied with his mother's ability to manage things in the city as a woman. The eldest disciple of Zixiao Mansion, Luo Jianye, is a peerless straight male with cancer. He has always looked down upon female cultivators and believes that women cannot cultivate Taoism and cannot achieve great success in cultivation. He should return to his backyard and focus on raising children and taking care of household chores. Zixiao Mansion leans towards Shenyuan Mountain and has always had a good relationship with Zhuang Xiaohui, who comes from a branch of Shenyuan Mountain. She believes that the city lord's wife should be as gentle and virtuous as Zhuang Xiaohui, and she should also take care of the female lead Tang Yuan more often. However, it is not pleasing to see Tang Yu's mother and daughter being gentle in the water. Today, Chen Jinbao came to find a place for Tang Yuan. Tang Yue stayed at home for more than a month and also followed her mother when she went out. They couldn't find such an opportunity for her to admit her mistake in public. Tang Yuan felt that Tang Yu's eloquence had improved a lot. It wasn't as urgent as before to just say a few words, but her reputation couldn't be tarnished like this. "Sister, why do you say that to me? I'm just being reasonable." "Sister, you're being reasonable. Why is it that on my first day here, this person is going to expel me from school? What's the reason behind this?" Chen Jinbao's face turned red and his ears turned red as he continued, "You framed your sister into a dangerous place and didn't apologize to her. You appeared openly in the school like this, ruining the atmosphere. I want you to apologize to Miss Wan in public. Why did you falsely accuse me like this? Everyone knows that I was seriously injured and recuperated for more than a month. Is that also my intention?" Tang Yue cried softly, looking aggrieved. It was the mistake of the original book Tang Yue. What is the relationship between her and Tang Yue wearing the book? Could it be that your Zixiao Mansion is so powerful that it can no longer accommodate my mother and me, so you want to embarrass me in public in this school, tarnish my reputation, and make it easier to drive us out of the city in the future?" Tang Yue exclaimed, startling everyone in the school. Although everyone knew that this could be the case today in secret, the Zixiao Mansion and the city lord's lady had been fighting for a long time, but no one had ever openly revealed it. Tang Yuan felt that something was wrong and hurriedly said, "Sister, it's not as serious as what you said. It's just that Jin Bao has a strong sense of justice and wants to be fair to me, Brother Tao." Tang Yue ignored Tang Yuan's language trap and said, "Chen Jinbao, after marrying into Kunwa City, my mother worked diligently and contributed to the development of Kunwa City. The clothes on your body today were still made by my mother with money for the Zixiao Mansion. How could you be so ungrateful and bully us mother and daughter to this end?" She doesn't care if Chen Jinbao is wearing the same outfit today, but recently Lady Shui has indeed paid to make a Taoist costume for the disciples of Zixiao Mansion. However, Chen Jinbao, a serious second-generation playboy, can't remember where his clothes came from today. I, Tang Yue, came to the school for the first time today and have no grudges or grievances against you. However, your Zixiao Mansion is aggressive and drives us and our daughter out of the city, crossing the river and demolishing the bridge. May I ask where is the justice between us?" Yu Yanling and Monk Fangling stood behind her. Although they knew the situation shouldn't be so serious, when it came to this matter, it became a question of whether the lady of the city had a foothold in the city. Naturally, they had to stand behind Tang Yue and not retreat. Both of her disciples followed the Lord's wife to Kunwa City, so they naturally wanted to live and die together with the Lord's wife. Everyone was shocked. The situation suddenly turned urgent and became so serious. Chen Jinbao was even more anxious, but he was usually very hasty and didn't have any quick wit at this time. He could only blush and be speechless. "Chen Jinbao, if you think you are just and want to seek fairness and justice, then come on, I will stand here and not move. If you dare not seek justice, you are deliberately slandering, intending to drive the Lord's wife out of the city and make me, the Lord's mansion lady, wander on the streets. Please publicly apologize to me and the Lord's wife. The situation has escalated to a public duel in the school, and other students are hesitant whether they should step forward to stop it. Which side should they help? Chen Jinbao's speech became incoherent when stimulated. Tang Yue, you don't think I dare. What Tang Yue wanted was his courage. If you don't dare, you're a coward. As soon as she finished speaking, Chen Jinbao was about to raise his sword to take a look. Chen Jinbao was older and usually ate elixir and spiritual soup, which was already the 8th level of qi cultivation. The key was that the spiritual sword he held was of good grade, and Tang Yue would at least suffer serious injuries if he dropped it. At that moment, Tang Yuan's gaze flickered unstoppably, and Yu Yanling was frightened and motionless on the side. Senior sister Shang wanted to step forward to block the sword, but Tang Yue reached out to stop her and did not let her step forward. As the sword was about to fall, there was a loud bang, and Chen Jinbao was suddenly bounced away. In a burst of smoke and dust, he heavily hit the beams and pillars in the hall, causing the entire house to tremble. Fortunately, it was sturdy and did not collapse. The smoke dissipated, and Chen Jinbao vomited blood from his mouth, completely unrecognizable and unconscious on the ground. Tang Yue took advantage of everyone's lack of reaction and ran out crying, "Senior brother Chen, I was going to argue with you about right and wrong. Chu Ji, you actually raised your sword and killed me. If it weren't for me wearing defense weapons, I would have become the soul of your sword long ago. This Zixiao mansion really can't accommodate us mother and daughter." Then she ran out of the school, definitely not to stay and wait for punishment, but to go back to Lady Shui's place to take shelter. She waited outside the door for a while to see if Yu Yanling and Shang Fangling had come out. The two of them were easily implicated inside, so if they hadn't come out, she would have asked a servant senior brother to bring them out. However, the two of them followed out in no time, saying that they needed to take her back to the mansion first to feel at ease after such a big incident occurred. That's right, Mrs. Shui needs to calm down the two senior sisters and leave some words for the senior teacher before they dare to go back and explain. Today's incident is not small, it actually relates to the survival of the sect in Kunwu City, and it is not something that a disciple of their small qi refining period can bear. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Equal treatment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Equal treatment. When they arrived at the city lord's residence, the three teachers and sisters gently told Mrs. Shui what had happened. Mrs. Shui looked at Tang Yue and smiled angrily. It was a big thing that could happen in the last school. After only a few months of understanding, she reverted to her old ways. Tang Yue saw that Lady Shui was angry and came forward to explain, "Mother, I didn't want to do this either. I had planned to listen to the class well, but it was Chen Jinbao who caused trouble first. If it weren't for my defensive spirit weapon, I would have been seriously injured by him long ago, and maybe even lost my life. You wouldn't have seen me again." Madame Shui couldn't bear to hear her speak like this. "Nonsense, how could you get into trouble with your defense weapon?" Chen Jinbao was too ignorant of the importance, and even publicly attacked a girl who had just taken her breath into her body. Yu Yanling understood that Lady Shui was trying to protect Tang Yue, so she stepped forward at the right time and said, "Madam City Lord, Chen Jinbao said that Sister Yu is the Miss City Lord and even made a move. This is clearly disrespectful to the City Lord." Upon hearing Yu Yanling speak like this, Shang Fangling lowered her head and assumed that she didn't want to stir up trouble. However, behind Chen Jinbao's trouble, it was indeed a factional dispute between the Zixiao mansion and the Lady of the City Lord. Perhaps it was the instruction of the Zixiao mansion's teacher, and Tang Yuan's situation was just an excuse. Madame Shui also knows what Yu Yanling means. Chen Jinbao's master is the senior brother of the City Lord. How could he disrespect the City Lord? Clearly disrespectful to the wife of the City Lord. She first comforted Yu Yanling and Shang Fangling, and asked them to convey to the sect that today is just a minor conflict between the disciples and disciples, so there is no need to pay much attention. After receiving a definite response, the two of them retired. Next, it should be Tang Yu's business. After all, because of her, she seriously injured a legitimate disciple of the family, and the Zixiao mansion will definitely cause trouble. Tang Yue quickly turned the topic to his senior brother Wei Hongyun, who was also in the flower hall at the moment. Senior brother Wei, do you have anything important to discuss with your mother? Wei Hongyun is the personal disciple of Shui Yingrishu, who, like her, cultivates internal alchemy and serves as the director of Qianghua Hall. He helps Lady Shui manage Qianghua Hall affairs and is responsible for the city's finances. At this moment, he was dressed in a purple shirt and standing tall by the hall, with a worried phoenix eye. He returned to Tang Yue and said, "Junior sister, I feel ashamed. Recently, Qianghua Hall has been unable to make ends meet, and it's time to distribute disciples' Lingshire pills. I came to discuss a solution with my master." Wei Hongyun's expression was slightly subtle as he spoke, and Tang Yue was curious. Is there any other insider information about this financial situation? Senior brother Wei turned to Waterman Man and said, "Master, we cannot always rely on your private property to make up for the deficit of the entire Kanwa city. Those greedy disciples of the aristocratic family will consume all of your private property, and they are intentionally doing so." What? Tang Wenhua, the lord of the city, actually eats his wife's soft rice. Tang Yue cannot accept Shui Yingro's favoritism, not only because the safety of Mrs. Shui's property is related to her survival and development, but also because her physical and mental health are affected by Mrs. Shui's motherhood, and no one wants to let her biological mother lose her property. Mother, how can you give your father a reputation for being a soft eater? This is not because he is trapped in a place of injustice, and I believe his father also does not want to bear this bad reputation. Tang Yue began to raise the banner again. In fact, Tang Wenhua has been pretending to be deaf and mute many times about Shui Yingro's subsidy. He felt that the city lord's wife should share the joys and sorrows of Kunwu City and do her part, and it was because of this that he married Shui Yingru. This matter is done discreetly and outsiders will not know. Shui Yingru glanced at her and said, "What nonsense. I want to make the situation in the city better so that I can attract more cultivators to join Kunwa City." Wei Hongyun said with some concern, "Master, Zixiao Mansion has already applied for 3 additional cultivation materials this month, and has taken away most of the Kunwu sword stones, resulting in a shortage of Kunwu sword stones in stock in the shops in charge of Qianghua Hall. However, I found that Zixiao Mansion is not using Kunwu stones for personal use, and some disciples have secretly sold Kunwu sword stones for profit. If this continues, the right to sell sword stones will be transferred directly to Zixiao Mansion." Tang Yue couldn't bear it any longer. Someone was so openly greedy of the city's wealth, filling their own pockets. The money taken by Zixiao Mansion was not spent in the city. She immediately felt no remorse for hurting Qin Jinbao. He was able to eat and drink well, and acted recklessly, so she dug a corner of Lady Shui's wall. She asked senior brother Wei, "Didn't father know that Zixiao Mansion was acting like this?" My senior brother looked uneasy and said, "I reported this to the city lord half a month ago, but the city lord replied that I shouldn't have hurt the harmony with the Zixiao Mansion. Publicly reselling may harm harmony, and some of the proceeds from the sale may become the private property of the city lord. Isn't this a joint effort to dig money from Shui Yingru?" Tang Yue anxiously said to Shui Yingjudo, "Mother, no wonder they dare to publicly humiliate me in school. You have tolerated them until now. Do you want to give them all your private property, and in the end, we mother and daughter will end up on the streets begging for food?" Shui Yingru scolded her and said, "It's not as serious as you said, it's just a loss of some money." Tang Yue enjoyed the emerald pearls on the head of the waterman alone, which were less than the ones Zhuang Qiaohui wore at the auction that day. She thought it was because she liked to keep a low profile, but it turned out that she wanted to be frugal and subsidize the city. No wonder she was so angry about just one piece of clothing. Tang Yue was determined not to let the lady of the city lord continue to be virtuous today. Although this virtue is good, it appears in herself and important relatives, and it's not too troublesome. Mother, your kindness did not earn praise from the people in the city. The Zixiao mansion even felt that you were weak and easy to bully. Today, Chen Jinbao dared to stop and bully me, always for the sake of Tang Yuan. It can be seen that Tang Yuan is the only Miss City Lord in his heart. Mother, you have put in a lot of effort to provide money, but in the end, you have helped Tang Yuan, the young lady of the City Lord's mansion, and Zhuang Xiaohui, the second lady of Quenched City. However, my mother and son have swallowed their pride and are frugal. Maybe when your money is gone and there is no use for it, they will unite to drive you out. Tang Yue, in order to prevent Lady Shui from providing money, actually said that she is poor and destitute. They dare. Is there no one in Wuji Mountain? As expected, when it came to Lady Zhuang Heir, Lady Shui couldn't bear it anymore. And she still subconsciously regards Wuji Mountain as her support and home, which shows that she is just holding on to the name of the Lord's wife in Quenched City. Marriage is indeed beautiful on the outside, but miserable on the inside. Since Tang Yue has become Lady Shui's daughter and Lady Shui is genuinely kind to her, she cannot let Lady Shui suffer losses. At this moment, senior brother Wei timely stepped forward and added, selling Kunwu sword stones privately is not the main cause of losses in the city. There are many descendants of aristocratic families who have good relations with the Zixiao mansion, even though they do not meet the eligibility criteria, come to collect the materials of their inner disciples. Inner disciples refer to the disciples received by the official institutions of Quenched City, such as the City Lord's Mansion, Zixiao Mansion, Qianghua Hall, Taiping Mansion, Shenanguan, and Baopu Pavilion. They are all disciples of the inner sect, equivalent to civil servants. And the Tiangong Refining Tower and Duobao Pavilion are privately operated in the city, not managed by the Lord's Mansion. What? These people dare to take things for free. Tang Yue was shocked. The family in the city was so arrogant, and Lady Shui's temperament didn't seem like a villain. Shui Yingru is not completely ignorant of managing finances. On the contrary, she is skilled at opening up resources and reducing costs. She just wanted to gain a good reputation in the city in the past, but fortunately, she stood firm in the city. At this time, she also questioned her past behavior of throwing money away. Has the family accumulated a lot of shares taken away by their children? Wei Hongyun heard his master finally and replied, Master, the annual portion taken by the family members can be used by the inner sect cultivators for 5 years. Tang Yue felt that it was time to put his controllable tears to use. Mother, you have paid so much for them, but there is no one in this city who misses your kindness. It's not like everyone says that Lady Zhuang is gentle and virtuous. She naturally exaggerated, but in fact, the family in the city doesn't value a concubine. It's just because the Lord likes her and gives her some face to praise. Madame Shui pondered for a moment before speaking, that's it. Why bother not please me? It's better to manage strictly and give it the name of being impartial and impartial. I hope everyone in this city can save resources for the development of Quenched City and understand that if they use more, others will lose a point. Shui Yingru made this decision not because she was momentarily angry or provoked by Tang Yue. She had long been tired of long-term subsidies and couldn't deliver a good sentence. In her heart, there was even disappointment and resentment towards Tang Wenhua. Her childhood thoughts on love have been gradually eroded by Tang Wenhua and the greedy city elders. Tang Yue did not have such complex feelings in Lady Shui's heart. She praised Lady Shui with joy and said, Mother, you are so wise and decisive. Shui Yingru looked at Tang Yue's smiling expression and thought to herself that she still had a caring daughter, which was worth it. However, she was also afraid that her obsession with wealth would harm her heart. Why are you becoming more and more obsessed with wealth? You underestimate your mother. You can't even eat this idea from Lingxi, she said. Tang Yue stuck out her tongue and pretended to be cute to get by. Mother, of course I know, but everyone has no foresight, there must be immediate worries. At this moment, Wei Hongyun was really happy. He had long been displeased with the cultivators in the city and even more displeased with the arrogant people of Zixiao Mansion. He suggested to Shui Yingru, Master, since you are determined to strictly manage your finances, let's cancel all special expenses. The regulations of Zixiao Mansion are also consistent with those of other institutions. Tang Yue felt incredulous and said, what? Is the status of the people in Zixiao Mansion even higher than mine? I obey my father's orders and hold the same status as an ordinary inner disciple. City Lord Tang Wenhua believes that the City Lord's mansion should set an example for cultivators, sharing weal and woe with other disciples. Therefore, the cultivators in the City Lord's mansion are the same as ordinary disciples in the inner gate. However, due to their outstanding disciples, the salaries of all disciples in the Zixiao Mansion have been raised by 1 grade. During the Qi cultivation period, cultivators receive resources for building foundations, while during the building period, cultivators receive resources for the golden elixir period, and so on. But this is just superficial work, he cannot let his own people suffer. Chu Tianshu and Tang Wan, due to their excellent academic performance, can receive another share from Zixiao Mansion. Tang Wenhua did not deliberately neglect Tang Yue. He felt that Tang Yue had a subsidy from Lady Shui, so he did not need to think of any more ways. In this way, he achieved general love for his children and proud disciples. Not only that, but from now on, the total distribution will be based on the 3 levels of the mansion and pavilion, and each faction will allocate their own disciples' salaries. If additional materials are required, a special application needs to be submitted to Chionghua Hall for approval by the steward cultivator. This way, we can also be more relaxed. Mrs. Shui replied seriously, determined not to get used to the Kunwu city elder family and let them produce additional spiritual stones themselves. Tang Yue was even more pleased to hear Lady Shui's words. Now Chu Tianshu and Tang Wan can even take advantage of the disciples of Zixiao Mansion. If they have 1 more point, the people of Zixiao Mansion will have 1 less point. Although it's not much on average, this matter itself is enough to make the people of Zixiao Mansion uncomfortable. Wei Hongyun thought to himself that the purpose of his trip had not only been achieved, but also exceeded expectations. His face relaxed and he asked Lady Shui, our Chionghua Hall is considering that Kunwu City is financially tight, so we advocate for reducing expenses under the pretext of opening up resources and reducing costs. This is the fact that Kunwu City has been struggling to make ends meet for a long time. Madame Shui nodded and said, okay, I'll trouble you Hongyun to push this matter forward. The elders in the city, especially the people of Zixiao Mansion, will definitely oppose it, and there may be some trouble. You come to me then, don't force yourself. She anticipated that the new policy would be opposed by the families in the city. After all, how could those people be willing to cut off the benefits of the future? Tang Yue thought for a moment about Qin Jinbao from the school and smiled. If the second generation of cultivators in the city were like him, and the wealthy families were like him, then he could also help with this matter himself. The identity of the young lady of the City Lord's mansion was very useful. Mother, I think I can also help you and my senior brother. Shui Yingru didn't know what she was thinking, so she thought she was young and treated this matter as a joke. You should stay at ease in the mansion and not cause trouble for your senior brother. The matter with Qin Jinbao is still unresolved. Be careful and Zixiao Mansion will trouble you. Upon hearing this, Tang Yue raised her head and said, Mother, I'm not afraid of them. If I have the ability, it really hurts me. I don't believe my father can still protect me. Upon hearing her words, Shui Yingru had no choice but to reply, your father is not good at favoritism either. In fact, neither Tang Yue nor Shui Yingru trusted Tang Wenhua very much. Tang Yue was just trying to raise a flag. Wei Hongyun thought that the tasks he had done with Lady Shui today had been completed, and he also wanted to return to Qionghua Hall to start reducing expenses. He bowed and bid farewell to Lady Xue and Tang Yue, saying, "Master, sister, I still need to handle affairs, so I won't disturb your dinner." Madame Xue knew that he was busy on weekdays and replied, "You go back. You've been working hard these days. You've received some spirit fruit spirit wine from the Flower and Moon City these days. It's of high quality. You can take it back." Wei Hongyun sincerely replied, "Master Xie is concerned. He grew up in Wuji Mountain from a young age, without a father or mother. Lady Xue treated him like a parent-child, always caring about the cold and warmth, and always making him feel the warmth of his mother." Tang Yue spoke up and said, "Mother, let me see off my senior brother." "Go." Xue Yingru happily saw her child getting close to her disciple. The two of them chatted along the way and walked towards the entrance of the mansion. The scenery of Lady Xue's residence was good, with mountains, stones, flowers, and trees in the garden, winding paths leading to seclusion, and some magic formations hidden inside. Therefore, they had to walk for a while to reach the nearest side door to the mansion. Tang Yue sincerely thanked Senior Brother Wei. "Senior Brother, thank you for always considering your mother and doing your best in Qionghua Hall." Wei Hongyun smiled back at her and said, "Junior sister, this is my responsibility. Besides, today, thanks to your help, you made my master determined not to provide any further assistance. You are really much smarter than before." Tang Yue avoided any mention of his personality changes and said, "Hey, don't mention Senior Brother. This is because I have been through a lot lately and I have to think more. Next, I need to rely on Senior Brother Wei's imagination." Sure enough, Senior Wei thought it was better not to mention this matter and took the initiative to change the topic. "Junior sister, Master treats me like a child, and I also treat you and Master as family. I will not let you and Master fall on the streets one day." He felt uncomfortable just hearing this assumption in the classroom. Although he knew that junior sister was just exaggerating, he didn't want to imagine it like that. Tang Yue smiled, and as expected, Senior Brother Wei treated Xue Ying gently and Tang Yue and her daughter well, just like in the original work. After Tang Yue had an accident in the book, he risked his life to protect the mother and daughter and escape from Kunwu City. After many years of searching for herbs that could restore their spiritual veins, he also sought refuge with the first major villain encountered by the male protagonist after failing to protect the lives of his master and sister, causing many disasters for the male and female protagonists. Oh, by the way, that villain is the eldest disciple of Xuanyuanshan, the leader who was forced to betray the sect. Lu Lingyi. She felt that she would not let Senior Brother Wei embark on the path of revenge in this life. "Senior brother, I will also treat you well." Wei Hongyun only realized that he had made a mistake. He felt that as a man and older, he should naturally take care of his junior sister without expecting anything in return. Moreover, in the past, junior sister was not very enthusiastic towards him. "I know junior sister is good to me. Just now, you helped me speak in class, and I could feel it," he said. Tang Yue understood his subconscious reaction and said, "Senior brother, I used to be immature and didn't get close to you. Now I know that my relationship has become distant and close. I will help you with things in the future." Wei Hongyun would never refuse Tang Yue's help. He has a strong ability to accept it and has already seen that Tang Yue has his own goals now. Besides, having his own eyes, he will not let her have any problems. So, it's troublesome for junior sister. Her identity as the daughter of the city lord is really suitable for dealing with the children of aristocratic families and sects in the city. Tang Yue smiled mysteriously and said, "Senior brother, I won't let you down. I'll trouble you to help me earn more spiritual stones in the future." End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Eternal Sinking Soul Formation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Eternal Sinking Soul Formation. Xiuxian Hall implemented the new Kunwu city method, first reducing the number of cultivators and preventing the phenomenon of taking additional cultivation materials, which indeed caused dissatisfaction among many cultivators. They have been taking advantage of their relationship for a long time and have taken it for granted to take more of the city's routine. Now they want to gather people to force Xiuxian Hall to restore the old routine. Wei Hongyun has prepared for the monks to protest, but still feels a headache for the monks gathered at the entrance of Xiuxian Hall. They have been influencing Xiuxian Hall monks in handling city affairs for several days. Many of the protesters came from inner sects or immortal cultivation families, with backgrounds similar to Wei Hongyun's, so they had no scruples when they started arguing, and everyone had close or distant relationships. The teachers refused to personally participate in the fight for supplies, so the city lord's wife was unable to seek help from high-level cultivators. And only a few of their peers stood on the side of Xiuxian Hall, with the majority of them causing trouble. Wei Hongyun saw that he could not work normally for a few days, and there were a large number of merchants who came to register and open, and things were piled up and unable to be processed normally. In this way, the decrease in income is even greater. Kunwu City is a new city with little accumulation. It has always been about making money and spending money. By next month, the city's financial revenue will be affected. He remembered that day when his junior sister Tang Yue promised him that if he needed help, he could come to her. Junior sister is the daughter of the city lord, and her status is higher than those outside. Besides, Tang junior sister is much more flexible in her actions than before. Perhaps she really has a way, but if not, she can still seek help from the city lord. Wei Hongyun speculated about Tang Wenhua and Tang Yue based on a typical father-daughter relationship. Of course, he believed that his biological father would always help his daughter, but unfortunately, Tang Wenhua's beloved daughter was not his biological junior sister, but another Tang junior sister. Tang Yue was meditating in the mansion, and when she got tired, she would play with the microscope for a while. Suddenly, the sound came from Yu Liang. She saw that it was a spiritual message from her senior brother, probably for the purpose of changing orders in the city. She has also recently heard the discussion of this matter among the miscellaneous disciples in her family, but usually they don't get any extra benefits. They only take this matter as a joke. It turns out that even high-ranking cultivators have to make trouble for money like this. She opened the Chuanin Jade and saw that it was indeed Wei's senior brother's intention for the affairs of the second-generation cultivators who were blocking the door. She politely expressed her hope that Tang Yue could help him. Tang Yue has recently reached the 3rd level of qi refining, and her divine sense is quite handy. She can also drive some formations that do not require cultivation. She thought for a moment and went to the courtyard to open Mrs. Waters' private treasure trove. Madame Shui noticed that she always wanted some worthless things and techniques, so she opened up her treasure trove to her and allowed her to pick whatever she wanted. Among them, there are also some heavenly treasures, many of which do not require spiritual power but can be directly driven by spiritual stones, in case one day she happens to be not by Tang Yue's side and her daughter is bullied. She is also not afraid of Tang Yue going out to do evil. Now her daughter is diligent in practicing every day, taking the initiative to become an apprentice, and pondering martial arts. She is much stronger than those playboy immortals who cause trouble all day long. The school incident was initiated by the other party, and it was not Tang Yue's initiative to cause trouble. It was better for someone else to be injured than for his own daughter to be injured. Tang Yue searched for various magical treasures, but none of them were suitable. As she walked to the storage cabinet in the corner, she suddenly caught a glimpse of a jade array. She took it out and saw that the array itself emitted a faint halo, with a lingering aura of treasure. Surprisingly, the array was carved using Xiantian crystal. She used her divine sense to explore and explain the bamboo plaque, and found that this formation was a heavenly treasure with great power, and could be driven by the spiritual power of cultivators and the ultimate spiritual crystals. Beside it were several pieces of ultimate spiritual crystals placed thoughtfully. Tang Yue really didn't know what to say about Shui Yingrou's pampering style. Such a precious and dangerous thing was just placed here as a backup for her. Fortunately, she was a poor person in her previous life, and even if she wore it in a book and became a playboy, she couldn't afford to squander it. She gritted her teeth and picked up the magic array to Qianghua Hall, thinking that although it consumed a lot, it was not worth mentioning compared to the resources saved by the new order in the city. In front of the pavilion, there was indeed a sea of people. The people standing inside were disciples of prestigious families, and outside were cultivators and mortals watching the excitement. Tang Yue finally squeezed into it. She walked up to the crowd and stood with the cultivators who were barely maintaining order in Qianghua Hall, shouting loudly at the troublemakers, "What are you doing? Are you trying to rob the Quenched city spirit tax?" The crowd was bewildered by these words and looked at the girl who suddenly appeared. Someone recognized her as the head of Qianghua Hall. The daughter born to the wife of the city lord, Shui Yingru, suddenly became angry, but she was also hesitant about her identity. A male disciple approached and said, "Miss Tang, you are young and don't understand the affairs of the city. We are here today to seek justice. Everyone has paid a lot for Quenched city on a daily basis. How can we reduce our salaries? This is unfair to us. Therefore, we come here to demand that the wife of the city lord in charge of Qianghua Hall stop issuing new orders and apologize to us. We hope that Miss Tang can convey this to our mother and give us a reply today." After hearing this, Tang Yue took a deep breath and told herself to remain calm and not be anxious when dealing with shameless people. Really? I wonder what this senior brother has done for Quenched city. The disciple immediately wore a humiliated expression and said, "My disciples from Zixiao mansion usually eliminate demons and defend the way, killing countless ferocious beasts. Junior sister, how can you erase our contribution?" Tang Yue chuckled lightly and said, "Didn't senior brother receive the city task reward as usual? Please explain which time you didn't receive the reward. We will find this person and send them to the Taiping prefecture for legal treatment." This disciple is a bit speechless. Every time he receives a promotion salary and reward, the exchange points of the sect are more than those of ordinary registered cultivators. However, what they are dissatisfied with now is the cancellation of their usual special treatment, making their salary the same as that of ordinary cultivators. This makes them unable to accept it. Our cultivators in the Purple Night Mansion are naturally extraordinary, how can their salary rank be the same as that of ordinary cultivators? As soon as he finished speaking, he heard the onlookers whispering and expressing dissatisfaction, and immediately realized that his words were inappropriate. Although the fact that the status of cultivators in Zixiao Mansion is not ordinary is something that everyone assumes, saying so is equivalent to openly saying that casual cultivation is not as good as them, which is easy to attract criticism. Tang Yue's expression suddenly became righteous. "Senior brother, what you said is truly unfair. Your cultivation is not as advanced as that of a cultivator in the city, and there is nothing special about completing tasks. Everyone does the same thing, why do you ask for more?" The disciples of Zixiao Mansion felt a bit embarrassed. This junior sister's words were also too unpleasant. No wonder she didn't have as high a reputation as her sister. "Junior sister, how can you insult me?" Tang Yue looked sincere and said, "Senior brother, I'm just telling the truth. Loyalty goes against the ear and is beneficial for action, but not listening to good advice is not conducive to your physical and mental growth." She was also a skilled online slander fighter in her past life, and she is still very good at being a blackmailer. Senior Wei also came out of the pavilion in time and walked quickly to her side, obviously afraid that she would suffer losses. Tang Yue nodded slightly to him, indicating that the situation was still under control. Standing beside the disciple of the purple Xiaofu, a slightly chubby male cultivator came out to help, saying, "Sister, as the daughter of the city lord's family, you should know that the purple Xiaofu has a close relationship with the city lord, and the purple Xiaofu has contributed a lot to Quenched city. That's why they have been given preferential treatment, which is only natural." There is some truth to this statement, but unfortunately, it is her own mother who pays for this preferential treatment, which is not enough. This senior brother, it is precisely because the Lord's Mansion and the Purple Lantern Mansion have an extraordinary relationship that the Purple Lantern Mansion should have the same treatment as everyone else, and treat everyone equally in order to reflect the legitimacy of the Lord's Mansion. Moreover, with the current financial difficulties in the city and the inability to make ends meet, the Purple Lantern Mansion should actively support the city's order reform, and the brotherly relationship between the Lord and the Lord is the right thing to do. Your actions now are falling into the Lord's unjust situation. The troublemakers dared not speak too harshly towards Tang Yue, so they decided not to talk nonsense anymore. If Chionghua Hall insists on not abolishing the new order, our families will have to move out of Kunwu City in order to survive. It's really heartwarming to see us, the elder families, being treated like this when Kunwu City was just established and invited by the First Lord of the city. This statement seems like Chionghua Hall is not about canceling cultivators from taking additional public resources, but rather about exterminating the door and seizing treasures. Wei Hongyun couldn't bear to listen anymore. Everyone, Chionghua Hall has been treating the cultivator family who moved to the city well for many years, which has led to the current financial difficulties in Kunwu City. In order to solve these difficulties, as a member of Kunwu City, everyone should support the new order and overcome the difficulties together. If you don't agree, then Kunwu City can come and go freely. Please go back and tell the elders of the clan. Someone heard Wei Hongyun's words and was very rude to their own family, which made them angry and embarrassed. Wei Hongyun, what do you mean? Do you look down on us family sects now? At that time, our family sects approved of your master marrying into Kunwu City because she could bring benefits to the city. Now, you want to expel us families who have been rooted here for several generations. How unreasonable. Upon hearing this, Tang Yue was truly angry, but she still grabbed Wei Hongyun, who was equally angry beside her. She took a step forward and stood in front of the cultivators. Everyone knows that Kunwu City cannot make ends meet and relies on my mother's dowry subsidy to continue distributing supplies. However, they insist on not agreeing to the expenditure-saving law and insist on eating a woman's dowry. Upon hearing this, some cultivators couldn't hold their pride. Although it was true, how could they speak so bluntly? But there were still cultivators who took it for granted, and a man in green answered, Tang Shimi, my mother is the wife of the Lord of Kunwu City, and we should work together with the Lord to contribute to the development of Kunwu City. This is her responsibility, and I believe the Lord's wife is also aware of this, so she will subsidize Kunwu City. You should help her fulfill her responsibilities, not hinder the cultivators from using the resources they deserve. Tang Yue laughed angrily and said, so, you must insist on being shameless and determined to snatch private property to support yourself. After hearing these words, the protesting cultivators became noisy. How could she speak like that? Tang Yue didn't say much, just took a step forward and took out the formation plate to activate the magic formation. Everyone felt bad, and just as they were about to evacuate, they were trapped in the green-gray smoke rising from the ground, no more, no less. The troublemaking cultivators were all trapped inside. She often uses her divine sense to read books and write articles in the World Observation Mirror. Her divine sense is well exercised, and controlling a highly automatic array is still good. Other onlookers saw these distinguished cultivators being surrounded by a vast expanse of blue and gray mist, and immediately left, afraid of affecting themselves, leaving only a few of them with high cultivation to watch from the side. The deacons of Chionghua Hall are also a bit confused. Is this miss from the Lord's Mansion really here to help? How do you feel like things can't be sorted out now? Wei Hongyun was also a bit anxious and asked, Junior sister, what kind of formation is this? These people shouldn't have any problems entering, right? They are all favored children of various families and sects, and some of them are only children in their families. If something really happens, I'm afraid Master won't be able to face those high-level cultivators. Tang Yue felt much more comfortable as he saw everyone inside and replied, Senior brother, there's no problem. This formation is actually beneficial to them. It's the eternal sinking soul formation. Wei Hongyun felt a bit familiar with the name and remembered what kind of formation it was. His face changed drastically and he said, "Junior sister, they can't bear it." Tang Yue didn't answer anymore. She sat up in meditation, her eyes tightly closed. Although the qi refining period of this heavenly product formation can also be driven, it is still necessary to concentrate and control. Wei Hongyun had a high cultivation level and immediately understood that his junior sister connected her divine soul to the formation in order to precisely control it. Although this eternal formation does not consume the master's divine soul, if anything else happens, it will harm her life. He felt the situation was urgent and hurriedly sent a spiritual message to Ingru. He regretted his sudden illness and seeking medical help from his young junior sister. She was so tired that she did such a thing. If something happened to her junior sister, how would he face his master? Tang Yue felt that with the care of senior brother Wei here, she could safely drive the magic formation, so she divided out most of her divine senses into the formation, retaining only a trace of consciousness to prevent accidents. This is also because her cultivation is not high, and there are not many divine souls, so she cannot be distracted. Her divine sense was at the highest point of the illusion in the formation at this moment. At a glance, everyone was trapped in a silver mirror of the same height as others, as if asleep, motionless. The ground pattern shimmered with blue light, and the spiritual energy of the top-grade spirit stone flowed through it. The silver mirror floated in the air, slowly drifting. She found the last thick-skinned green-clad cultivator and drifted over to see what kind of wicked person he was. Tang Yue lightly touched the mirror and immediately revealed the scene the spirit of the green-clad cultivator was experiencing. He was working as a servant in a mundane mansion transformed into a fantasy realm, and the attendant, an old man, was furious. He dropped a teacup and had to use his hand to clean up the broken porcelain pieces on the ground, accidentally scratching his hand. "I went to see the Zixiao mansion disciple who was arguing with me when I first arrived at the entrance of Chionghua Hall. His illusion was very enchanting, embracing each other in a painted boat, which was quite enjoyable." Tang Yue exited his illusion just before the blind scene appeared. This is precisely the special function of the eternal sinking soul formation. When the spiritual soul of a cultivator is sucked in for eternity, they will forget their true origin, fully believe in the identity and environment created by the formation, lose their cultivation, and experience the suffering of ordinary people's 7 emotions and 6 desires. Therefore, it has the effect of honing their mental nature. Although eternal life is a divine treasure in the mortal world of cultivators, it was created by talented individuals in the immortal realm. It contains exquisite and mysterious formations, imitating the practices of immortal cultivators in reincarnation and tribulation, allowing mortal cultivators to also practice eternal reincarnation, and causing much less damage to divine souls than true reincarnation and tribulation. In the past, there were cultivators who could not break through the Tao heart, so disciples came to borrow this formation. Shui Ingru had no intention of giving the formation to Tang Yue. She moved a cabinet of non-attack magic weapons on the first floor and forgot to take out this powerful formation. The full name of the world also includes the 4 characters, sinking soul, which indicates that it is not just a harmless formation for honing the Tao heart. When a cultivator is immersed in the bustling world of illusion, reluctant to part, or struggling in the sea of endless suffering, unable to fully understand and liberate, they will consume their divine soul for a lifetime until their conscious soul dissipates in the formation, leaving their body shell in the world. A group of dandy young masters and ladies with low cultivation cannot withstand the secular hardships of training high-level cultivators. Over time, they will damage their divine souls and qualifications. Now their divine souls can still withstand the test of a few hours, and whether they will be harmed or not depends on whether the teachers of these disciples come quickly. That is to say, Tang Yue used her own body to blackmail hundreds of noble disciples. With such a desperate effort, no wonder Wei Hongyun was anxious and regretful. He also did not expect his usually delicate junior sister to achieve this level. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Release of Personnel. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 8. Release of Personnel. In less than an hour, the Eternal Formation was launched when Tang Yue, Xiuxian, and other clan leaders rushed over. Xiuxian is worried that Tang Yue will suffer losses or be punished excessively by Tang Yue. But Tang Yue was really angry, probably even more so than the old master outside the Eternal Formation. The city lord, his wife, and several elders first dispersed the onlookers, and the famous disciples and the young lady of the city lord's mansion made a scene like this, which was not pleasant to say. The parents present were all of high status, including family leaders and clan chiefs, but they dared not take action against Tang Yue. After all, the city lord and his wife were all here. Tang Yue transformed into a god at the 3rd level and Xiuxian yuanying at the 10th level. The two of them have many magical treasures on their bodies, and it is not certain that they can compete in a real battle, let alone survive in the city managed by these two people in the future. A homeowner said to Xiuxian, "Madam Xue, you are a good daughter. You have trapped so many famous disciples in the eternal Dharma formation. Are you trying to undermine the hearts of the younger generation? Is it easy to control the future of our families?" Xiuxian knew he was angry and said, "Elder Meng, our Lord's mansion has always treated the families and sects in the city well. How could they have deliberately done such a thing? It's just that Yu was targeted by so many people and was afraid for a moment, making such an irrational move." Meng, the head of the Meng family, saw that she was still defending Tang Yue at this time and angrily said, "Is it the fault of our younger generation to say this? Yang Xing has always been upright and just stood up to speak for his friends. I didn't expect someone to use such a dangerous formation in the usually well-maintained Quenched city, so he was not on guard and fell into danger. What did he do? He should have suffered this calamity." Tang Yue comforted by saying, "Brother Meng, don't worry. I will definitely give you an explanation afterwards. The most important thing at this time is to release Yang Xing." Master Meng knew that this statement was reasonable and said to Tang Yue, "Quickly open the magic array and release everyone." Tang Yue closed her eyes and remained silent. Xiuxian knew that her cultivation was too low and she used most of her divine sense to control the formation, so she couldn't hear any external voices. It's really bold. Fortunately, she has her own disciple guarding her side. Otherwise, if she encounters a young person, her spirit will be in trouble. So she stepped forward and slowly injected her divine consciousness into the formation, slowly awakening Tang Yue. She whispered, "Quickly release the people in the formation, otherwise I won't be able to stop so many people." Tang Yue heard her mother's voice, opened her eyes, and greeted everyone. "Hello, seniors. Your disciples are experiencing in the formation and have a clear understanding of the Tao. When they come out, they will surely make great achievements." The woman behind the head of the Meng family couldn't help but say, "Quickly release my young star. What have you experienced? With such a fierce formation, what should he do if something happens?" Tang Yue said calmly, "Madam, please listen to my arrival. It was the beginning of winter last year, and my father lamented the hardships of the city's monks. There are many patches on their robes, and he said that we, who are in good condition, should help the poor monks. Qianghua Hall should also distribute subsidies to help impoverished households. The city residents are the foundation of Quenched City. Only when they have a comfortable life can they focus on their cultivation, and the strength of the cultivators will become stronger and stronger. Only then can Quenched City further prosper and prosper." Tang Yue felt that the matter of the cultivator's robe could not be resolved. "Tang Yue, why do you say so much? Why don't you release all the senior brothers and sisters?" "Father, I was just reaching the crucial point. Don't interrupt me, okay? It was because I wanted to do something for the struggling cultivators and ordinary people that my mother and senior brother checked the city's finances. This investigation found that Quenched City had been unable to make ends meet for several years and often needed to borrow money to provide subsidies in order to distribute supplies normally. Now, the spiritual stones in the warehouse can no longer last for a month. Tang Yue was heartbroken and said, so I persuaded my mother to implement the new city order to avoid extravagance and waste. The saved spiritual stone resources could be used to subsidize other people in the city. However, my senior brothers and sisters did not agree and obstructed normal work at the entrance of Xiuxian Pavilion, which further worsened the financial situation of Quenched City. So I thought to myself, it's definitely not that my senior brothers and sisters have bad morals and are shameless, but that they don't understand the situation. So I wanted to show them the suffering of the people of Quenched City through countless generations, so that they can understand the difficulties of the people of Quenched City, agree with the new city order from the bottom of their hearts, and help them cultivate their body and mind. I really put in a lot of effort. Alright, it's just about reducing expenses. As for what's going on like this, we agree to the new policy and won't let our disciples cause trouble again. Let them go quickly. An elder of the Purple Lantern Mansion interrupted Tang Yue's speech, and if we delay for a while, it will really hurt his disciples' spirits. Tang Yue changed into a cautious expression and said to the other high-level cultivators, so, do others also agree to do good deeds? We agreed. You release the people quickly. In fact, they know that relying on Shuiying Rou to subsidize the city's finances is unreasonable and cannot last long. They just want to take advantage of it day by day. Tang Yue no longer procrastinated, but focused and untied the formation, and all the disciples came out of the formation. Some people were reluctant to leave, while others looked pale. A female cultivator unexpectedly fainted. Parents rushed forward to have a check up upon seeing the situation, but fortunately there were no problems. The only difference was that they were physically weak and mentally ill, and after a period of cultivation, they were able to recover. The Meng family leader said to the City Lord, I hope you can give us an explanation about this matter. However, he was worried about the situation of the younger generation and quickly returned to the sect to check the situation. After saying a few words, he hurriedly left without mentioning the punishment for Tang Yue. The blue-clad cultivator who transformed into a servant in the illusion was the only child of the Meng family. At this moment, he was in a daze and was supported by the head of the Meng family to board the carriage next. Tang Yue also took a carriage back to the Lord's mansion. Wei Hongyun escorted them back and sat in a carriage with Lady Shui Tang Yue. Tang Wenhua walked back and needed some time to calm down and face Tang Yue, otherwise he couldn't help but take action. Along the way, Wei Hongyun told Lady Shui about Tang Yue's actions and explained to her that she was doing so for the implementation of the new policy and to alleviate the financial difficulties of Xiuxian Pavilion. The disciples of the aristocratic family were also not a big problem, and he hoped that she would not be blamed. Shui Yingru certainly knew that Tang Yue had made this desperate behavior for her own sake, but she just complained that she shouldn't joke about her own divine soul. Upon arriving at the Lord's mansion, Tang Wenhua rebuked coldly with an angry expression, Tang Yue, look at what you have done and offended so many family sections. How should your mother and I face them in the future? Tang Yue could only cry and show it to him. She sobbed softly and said, Father, I don't know, they are different from you. They have a heart of benevolence and kindness, and are willing to do good deeds. I thought everyone cared about the lives of the people in the city and aspired to be a wealthy and benevolent family sect. That's why they were taught about the suffering of the world. I thought this would make them agree to do good deeds together. Father, don't we all have a heart of reaching out and helping the world? Or are they deliberately taking advantage of Quenched City? Tang Wenhua was speechless. Could it be said that they were actually trying to take advantage and make your mother pay, and I tacitly agreed. He felt that this daughter used to be just immature, but now she has a bad brain and keeps saying she wants to do something good. He had no choice but to set aside the topic and prepare to directly punish Tang Yue. If you do such a wrong thing, you must accept punishment in order to convince the people in the city. Tang Yue sobbed and said, what my father said is, then I will be punished for 6 months not to go out, and I will meditate in seclusion at home. Tang Wenhua laughed angrily, saying that there was no such easy thing, but Xiuxian directly arranged the flowers and said, "All right, those famous disciples haven't had any problems either. After a few days of cultivation, they will be fine. Why punish Iu too much? Now that the financial problem in the city has been solved, it's her fault. Or do you also agree to let me continue to subsidize you in Quenched City?" Mrs. Shui glanced at him with a sidelong glance. This person is best at being good at getting cheap and being obedient, just to see if he can say something to continue subsidizing himself. Tang Wenhua felt a bit guilty when he thought about Lady Shui's subsidy for finance. "Madam, why do you say that? Quenched City is our home, and we should build it together. If Tang Yue is not punished, what should those sects and families who want to speak up do? It's not easy to explain to them." Xiuxian said coldly, "Tell me what? Have you not eaten enough of my food yet? Do you want to spit it out and return it to me?" Tang Wenhua finally realized that Xiuxian was not just a momentary whim. She had really changed her attitude and no longer tolerated back-to-back relationships. She also realized that she had a bad temper and was only trying to swallow the anger of the famous families in the city for her own sake. If she continued, she might actually come to collect the spiritual stone, so she had to say, "Okay, let me handle this matter." Xiuxian snorted casually and impatiently asked him to deal with those prestigious families. Tang Wenhua suddenly felt a sense of crisis. Women no longer showed tenderness towards men, and many things were inconvenient to do. It seemed that he wanted to coax Xiuxian and save her heart. If Tang Yue knew Tang Wenhua's thoughts, she would curse out loud. Before leaving, he also instructed Lady Shui not to give Tang Yue those precious spiritual treasures. If Tang Yue causes trouble again, he will not be able to bear it. The mother and daughter tacitly ignored his thoughts. Xiuxian walked to the small mountain and water building next to her bedroom, opened a magic formation in the open space between the rockery and the pond, and formed a treasure trove gate out of thin air. Advanced cultivators like to build such a mustard space in their homes, and putting their property inside can save space in their homes. Although the Lord's mansion is large, it cannot accommodate Tang Wenhua and Xiuxian's property. Tang Yue used to come here to look for things. The two of them went into the treasure trove and conducted a thorough inventory. Lady Shui did not find any other dangerous treasures and did not bring them out. The mother and daughter walked out of the treasure trove, and Lady Shui said to her, "Iu, are you interested in formations? Can you work hard to study them?" Tang Yue is indeed interested in using patterns to improve the microscope in the future, and she also wants to know how illusions like the one in the world are created. She replied, "Mother, I like formations and have the opportunity to learn the mysteries of formations. Then I will pass on this eternal sinking soul formation to you. Outsiders only know that this formation can be honed and cultivated in the formation, sure willpower, but I don't know that it is more helpful for improving one's formation skills compared to the main understanding and enlightenment." Xiuxian opened her palm and a landscape pattern floated out in the air, drifting towards Tang Yue. She also opened her palm and took on this magical pattern. She was surprised to see that recognizing the master of the magic weapon was not only through the blood dripping of a cultivator, but also through the transmission of one person to another. She asked Xiuxian again, "Mother, since you were the master of eternity before, how can I use this formation?" Xiuxian replied, "At that time, because my mind allowed you to operate the formation, if anyone was skilled in using the formation automatically, the formation master urged his divine sense to kill those who stole the formation. Tang Yue felt it was very dangerous. Fortunately, Lady Shui's Yuaning was at the 10th level and had a strong divine sense. She recognized her own divine soul, otherwise she would have died in the formation. Then she learned some knowledge and experience about using arrays from Lady Shui. On weekdays, the leader of the formation can put his divine soul into the formation on his own, but he does not become a member of the formation to be tested. Instead, he observes the various states of the world like watching a drama, and comprehends the principles of the world from it. Using the formation in this way will not cause any damage to the divine soul. Another advantage is that when the leader's divine soul enters, the time flow rate is slower than the outside world. The divine soul in the formation has passed 100 years, and the outside world has only passed half an hour, which helps accelerate the leader's enlightenment. Xiuxian also talked to Tang Yue about how to improve the formation skills through countless generations. The key to formation lies in creating illusions and confusing the mind. Therefore, cultivators in formation should be able to perceive the world and understand the psychological weaknesses of their opponents. Observing or experiencing the mundane world simulated by the leader of the formation can enhance their understanding of human affairs and create powerful illusions. Although Tang Yue could not fully understand Xiuxian's explanation, she recorded the key content and prepared to repeatedly refer to it in the future. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Fetal Poison. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Fetal Poison. The Qianghua Hall incident has caused so much trouble that almost all the influential disciples of the sects and aristocratic families in the city have been poisoned, while the culprit Tang Yue was only punished and banned for half a year. The people in the city consciously should pay more attention in their daily lives and not provoke this spoiled and arrogant second Mississippi. She is so stubborn and reckless because she relies on her birth mother's noble background, even more arrogant than those dandies who used to bully ordinary cultivators. With just one move, she will be caught in one fell swoop. Tang Yue is grounded at home and doesn't intend to be idle. She can't go to school to listen to lectures now, but she still has to take the year-end Qi Refining Cultivator exam. So she discussed with Xiuxian and wanted to invite some monks to her home to open a private school for herself, to catch up on the progress of the courses she couldn't complete. Xiuxian naturally supported her in studying hard and even discussed with her what kind of person to invite. Tang Yue has always liked to customize her own study schedule, and this time she is no exception. She has put forward requirements for tutoring candidates. She hopes to improve her martial arts skills, not limited to swordsmanship. As long as it is a practical combat move, she can do anything. She has done many hateful things and is easily retaliated and plotted, so improving her martial arts skills is very important. She wants to learn more about Dan Fu, and she will go to the Shenong Hall and the Heavenly Craft Refining Building on her own to learn about medical and instrumental arts. Forbidden feet are not allowed to leave the city lord's mansion. Tang Yue believed that using the teleportation array to go to the Shenong Hall and Tiangong Refining Building was not against the regulations, and could save a lot of time on the road. However, the teleportation array needed to be driven by spirit stones, which was a bit useless. According to her words, Xiuxian invited 6 to 10 level foundation period cultivators as her private school teachers, and also added a golden core period master to explain Taoist classics and supplement Tang Yue's theory. This configuration is stronger than going to Zixiao Mansion to listen to lectures. Most of the senior brothers and sisters who were invited did not reach the golden core for cultivation, but they were experienced in practical combat and had a lot more practical knowledge than the lecturers who had been preaching from book to book in universities all year round. Moreover, the lecturers in the school are group-oriented, so the effect is naturally not as good as personalized tutorials. At this moment, Tang Yue once again felt the pleasure of being a second-generation student. The third level of Qi refining can almost withstand further medicinal nourishment, and Tang Yue has also cleared the accumulated poison in her body during this period and started researching new nourishing formulas. The Lotus Quenching Body Sutra records a medicinal supplement formula for combining techniques. She plans to first try using a medicinal bath to detoxify and quench the body, improve her physique, strengthen muscles and bones, and lay a solid foundation in order to better cultivate the techniques. Madame Xue was not at ease with her medication alone, so she prepared a medicinal bath soup with her and protected her body. If anything unexpected happened, she could promptly treat Tang Yue. The spiritual medicine prescription states that the cultivator's first bath must be uninterrupted, and the dressing soup must be changed continuously until the water in the medicine pool is no longer turbid and becomes clear. The water lady can also help her change her dressing on the side. This medicinal bath was soaked for a day and a night. Although Tang Yue didn't have any accidents, Lady Shui looked at the dirty wastewater flowing out of the pool and her face became solemn. Generally, cultivators would not have so many impurities in their bodies unless they had congenital fetal toxicity. The next day, just as dawn broke, Lady Shui summoned the Shenong Hall and invited the owner, Shang Lingyi, to personally visit the mansion. This was Tang Yu's first time seeing a doctor after arriving at the cultivation world. Previously, Shang Lingyi directly wrote tonifying soup to Lady Shui and did not personally see Tang Yue. She knew there was something wrong with her discharge of impurities and asked Lady Shui. She only comforted Tang Yue and told her that the problem was not serious. The lord of the Shangwan also brought his daughter to the lord of the city's mansion, which was Shang Fangling, who accompanied her to the school last time. This not only helped Shang Fangling gain experience, but also had the intention of making friends with the younger generation. In the future, Tang Yue can directly contact Shang Fang if she has any problems, so she no longer needs to trouble herself. She thought that this time Mrs. Shui was too concerned about her daughter and too nervous to allow herself to personally see her. Unexpectedly, after checking my pulse for a while, I realized there was really a big problem. So she explored Tang Yu's whole body with her divine sense, and took out a snow-white spirit toad, dripping a drop of blood taken from Tang Yu's finger onto the toad's back. The toad's back showed blood-red veins, and the owner of the house saw the veins with a serious expression. "Madam, I hope to privately communicate with you about Tang Yu's situation," he said. Madame Shui agreed and asked Tang Yue to take Shang Fangling to the garden for a leisurely stroll, while the owner of the monk's house was chatting privately in the flower hall. Tang Yue is not too worried either. Is there anything more deadly than a spell ring? Moreover, for so long, the incantation ring had no intention of telling oneself to detoxify, indicating that the poison was not a fatal matter. She led Shang Fangling to a pond and the two of them communicated while feeding the spirit fish. Tang Yue asked Shang Fangling, "Senior sister, what precious spirit beast is that snow-white toad? What is its purpose?" Shang Fangling replied, "That toad is called the snow spirit toad. It was raised by my family using a unique secret method and can be used to detect and detoxify toxins. If someone is poisoned, the snow spirit toad's back will turn black. The general poison can be directly sucked out by the snow spirit toad. But I don't know what the red blood streaks on the back of the snow spirit toad represent, but don't worry, my mother will have a way." She comforted Tang Yue and also believed in her mother's medical skills. "Okay, senior sister, I believe Master Shang. Let's come and fish for spirit fish instead of feeding them." Tang Yue took out a fishing rod from her storage bag and handed it to Shang Fangling. The two of them started fishing, and each caught a few spirit fish. Some colors are colorful and very beautiful, and can be used for viewing. Some have black backs and white bellies, making fish soup exceptionally delicious. Shang Fangling brought her a dim sum made by herself when she came, and put the nectar of Linghua, which tasted sweet. Tang Yue took Lingyue as a gift in return, and they got along very well. After half an hour, Lady Shui escorted the owner of the pharmacy out of the flower hall. The owner was very busy managing the pharmacy, and it was already the limit to have 1 hour to come and see the doctor in person. "We must bid farewell and cannot stay any longer." After seeing off the master and senior sister of the Shangwan, Tang Yue and Lady Shui went to her bedroom and asked directly, "Mother, what's wrong with my body?" "You don't have to worry, just tell me directly, otherwise I'll be restless if I keep thinking about it." "Okay, I'll tell you what. Master Shangwan has detected a congenital fetal poison in your body that she doesn't even know about. This poison is very insidious. When I was pregnant, I got this poison, and I didn't have any problems myself. Instead, it caused you to have a lack of innate vitality and underdeveloped roots and bones. Your qualifications deteriorated. Both your father and I have single spiritual roots and superior qualifications. You should have been a child with innate good qualifications, but because I was not careful for a moment, I accidentally fell into the path of that despicable person in the West Court, which has led to your difficult cultivation and being laughed at by others." As she spoke, Shui Yingrou's eyes turned red. She was naturally strong and stubborn, and could not easily shed tears. Now that she found out that her daughter had been poisoned from birth, destroying her innate talent, how could she not be heartbroken? "In the year when I was pregnant with you, I was careful everywhere. I usually raised myself in the Ruoshui residence, and no one could touch me. The only time was during the Lantern Festival, when Zhuang Qiaohui held a lantern exhibition in the mansion and invited a lady from the city to attend a banquet. I had to attend. Shortly after leaving, I felt chest tightness and shortness of breath, so I left early. Afterwards, I also contacted the master of Shenghuan, and the master of Danfu Pavilion, Zhang, helped me check the situation. They couldn't see anything. This poison is very powerful. If it weren't for you taking a medicinal bath today, I might not have known in my life that you were poisoned. Mother, how can we blame you for this? Zhuang Qiaohui poisoned you so badly, and you are also a victim. She is too cunning." Tang Yue recalled the original work without any poisoning incidents, and it is feared that Lady Shui in that book never discovered her daughter's poisoning in her lifetime. She suddenly thought of the intention of the spell ring to make herself beautiful. The appearance of a cultivator is related to their aptitude. She should have had good aptitude, but she lost her innate vitality after being poisoned by fetal poison. To become beautiful, she needs to find ways to replenish her innate vitality, improve her spiritual roots, and refine her physique. The heart-mouth spell ring responded promptly to her, indicating that it was indeed so. The spell ring only has some precious willpower and cannot convey such complex information. Tang Yue can only respond when she discovers her innate lack of vitality. Tang Yue thought it through and comforted Lady Shui, "Mother, it's okay. Now that it has been found out that I have a poor foundation due to insufficient innate energy, shouldn't we just repair this innate energy?" Shui Ying Roshin said that it's not as simple as how to replenish innate vitality in the future. Even medical training with a family background like Master Shenghuan has no way, but there's a thought that's good. What I'm saying is, I'm in a hurry. Let's ask your senior brother to slowly help us find medicine. Tang Yue saw that Shui Yingru still had a worried expression on her face, so she wanted to find a way to make her happy. "Mother, although we don't have any evidence of the poisonous woman in the West Court, we can make them suffer a bit. Let's reduce the expenses in the mansion under the pretext of responding to the new spirits in the city. Our mother and daughter are not short of money, but that poisonous woman often dresses up and participates in various flower and bird viewing events. How could our Lord's mansion waste so much money? Okay, as you said, I won't make them feel better anymore." Mrs. Shui thought to herself, although she can't take Zhuang Qiaohui down now, even if the city takes the initiative to anger and blame herself, this aunt won't be able to get better in the future. Shui Yingru didn't want to show Tang Yuan any mercy from her stepmother anymore. Mother and daughter are originally one, and she has gained a lot of benefits from Zhuang Qiaohui. Naturally, the greater the harm, the smaller the joint responsibility. Zhuang Qiaohui has harmed her daughter, and she is already very generous not to take action against Tang Yuan. Mother, the Lotus Quenching Body Sutra is really a good technique. It eliminates congenital fetal toxins and impurities in my body. Maybe I will gradually improve as I continue to practice. Besides, the capable person of Flower Moon City wrote this technique, and they must have a way to replenish my innate vitality. Shui Yingru felt that her daughter's analysis was very reasonable, and she immediately gained confidence. You're right. I asked your senior brother to visit Flower Moon City more often. There are many talented people and scholars there. Maybe they have a way to replenish their innate vitality. Madame Jian Shui became happy, and Tang Yue also felt at ease. Then she raised the fish basket in her hand and said, "Mother, I'll make soup for you. You can try my craft. Do you still know how to make soup? Let me try it." Mrs. Xue felt much relieved, and her daughter had a much better mindset than herself. In modern society, Tang Yue likes to cook and eat by herself, and those who love to eat eventually have to become chefs. In the realm of cultivation, she prefers to study the unique ingredients here. The food she made with spiritual meat and vegetables is already very delicious, and she has always wanted to make water for Madame to eat. Today happens to be an opportunity. She also learned how to wrap the fish meat with spiritual energy, so that the fish's spiritual energy does not dissipate, and the taste is delicious and delicious. As soon as she brought it to the table, Lady Xue smelled the aroma of the fish soup and took a sip, praising, "My daughter is really smart and capable." The fish soup she makes is not inferior to the master at Baoyue Tower. Baoyue Tower is a well-known restaurant in the city, and the chefs hired are all well-known food cultivators. "Mother, you make fun of me. How can I compare myself to Master Baoyue Tower? They have been skilled in this art for many years, and I have only been cooking for a few months, but I can only take a bite." "Okay, but the soup you make is much stronger than mine. It's not just delicious, being your mother is a blessing in the mouth." At this moment, Xue Yingru truly feels happy because she can become Tang Yu's mother. In fact, in the original book, she did not regret giving birth to the original owner, but blamed herself for not teaching her daughter well, which led her astray. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Falling Flower Valley. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Falling Flower Valley. The issue of fetal toxicity did not cause any psychological shadow for Tang Yue. She continued to lead her own life of cultivation, practicing daily and even inviting Shang Fangling and Yu Yanling to come to the mansion for tea and dinner when she had free time. Her 6-month ban had not yet expired and she could not go out to meet friends. She found a very useful set of books in her mother's collection, titled Fundamentals of Spiritual Power, which is not about enhancing spiritual power, but teaches readers how to use spiritual power. The author LV he is a very talented cultivator who writes this book with a very interesting and ordinary sounding name. The book does not simply talk about how to use spiritual power, but starts with practical application, teaching readers how to use spiritual power to do small things in daily life, such as cleaning, cooking, manufacturing, planting, pet raising, brewing, wilderness survival, and other useful spiritual power application tips. Besides liking the recipes provided in the book, Tang Yue also likes the jewelry making mentioned by LV he in the book. She made a hairpin for Lady Xue, as depicted in the book, using precious Lianyi Qiongji and Xuanqing rainbow gemstones. Lady Xue was very happy to receive this gift and praised her ingenuity. She didn't forget to make ink bamboo bracelets for Shang Fangling and Yu Yanling, and both of them were very happy when they received them. The ink bamboo bracelets have the effect of accumulating body, and the materials themselves are very precious. Moreover, Tang Yu's style is also very innovative and beautiful. Yu Yanling praised her for learning well in the heavenly craft refining building. She followed this book and couldn't stop using her spiritual power, sometimes forgetting to practice. She was electrocuted several times by the spell ring before remembering to meditate on time every day and practice the Lotus quenching body classic in a timely manner. After half a year, not only did she reach the 4th level of Qi refining, but her proficiency in using spiritual power also increased several steps. Now, many foundation building and even golden core cultivators are not as familiar with the ways she knows how to use spiritual power. The happiest person is Lady Xue. She has always been worried that Tang Yu's cultivation progress will be much slower than ordinary people due to her low spiritual root quality. Now that she has made rapid progress, it has also eased her anxiety about her daughter. But she still sent many cultivators to repair her daughter's innate vitality, and Wei Hongyun already had an idea about this matter and personally went to the Flower Moon City to negotiate. During her confinement period, the male lead had already formed a golden pill. 15-year-old golden pill cultivators are rare in the entire Liuzhou continent. Even the talented Lu Lingyi of Xianyuan Mountain only formed a golden pill at the age of 18. The eunuch Chongguang of the Shangqing Palace was blessed with auspiciousness, and she only formed a golden pill at the age of 19. Tang Wenhua is preparing to hold a grand ceremony for Chu Tianshu to celebrate the birth of a genius in Kunhua City, spreading the news throughout the continent. Tang Yue, citing her foot ban, did not attend the grand ceremony. She was not interested in supporting the male lead, so it was better for her to improve her skills and study the things she was interested in. The research progress of Weiling Bug has been stagnant for a long time, and the editor-in-chief of Idle Talk has repeatedly urged her to submit the manuscript. In modern society, she doesn't often attend banquets, and people who want to cooperate with her are those who come knocking on her door after hearing that she did a good experiment. She believes in speaking with strength, and people who have no value will not be disdainful to interact with them. Chu Tianshu was a bit concerned that Tang Yue was not present. Everyone celebrated his wedding ceremony, and his master and mother also sent gifts. However, the legitimate daughter of the city lord, who was of high status, did not attend, making his wedding ceremony imperfect. Zhuang Xiaohui muttered to Chu Tianshu while avoiding others that Tang Yue was too immature, and her senior brother did not attend such an important ceremony. She wanted to compare Tang Wan's cleverness and heart. Chu Tianshu said on the surface that he didn't blame Tang Yue's junior sister, but on the inside, he also felt that Zhuang's mother's words were reasonable. Tang Yue doesn't care what the protagonist's team thinks, just do what they want. Half a year later, she lifted her ban and didn't specifically greet Chu Tianshu and Tang Wan, which in her opinion was completely unnecessary. The Shenongguan organized her disciples for this period to go to the Falling Flower Valley to pick herbs and teach them some common knowledge about picking and preserving herbs, so she went with the others. Luohua Valley is a valley full of peach trees, with a unique feng shui terrain. It is like spring all year round, and peach trees only bloom but do not bear fruit. The petals fall all year round, and the scenery is very beautiful. In addition to peach trees, there are also many Ganoderma lucidum growing in the valley. They came here to search for the Ganoderma lucidum hidden in the pile of fallen leaves. Among the on-duty disciples of the Shenong Hall who led the team was Shang Fangling, who knew that Tang Yue was also an apprentice at the Shenong Hall and came specifically. After several encounters, she felt that Tang Yue was not the legendary overbearing young lady, but rather very friendly and friendly. She was not good at socializing and could get along well with her, so she was willing to meet her frequently. Tang Yue also had a good impression of senior sister Shang. She specially came to explain to herself how to find the 5-colored Ganoderma, how to preserve herbs, and even personally demonstrated it. People who have not picked Ganoderma lucidum will never be able to find it at first, but when someone shows them the hidden Ganoderma lucidum grass, they will instantly see all the Ganoderma lucidum in the world. This feeling is very novel for Tang Yue. In modern society, she doesn't have many opportunities to get close to nature, and only then did she feel the magic of the growth of all things in heaven and earth. Shang Fangling saw that Tang Yue had mastered the martial arts, so she went to teach others. After all, she was one of the cultivators responsible for teaching and couldn't just teach one person. Tang Yue was picking and arrived at the end of the peach forest. Lingji only grew at the foot of the peach tree, and if she went further outside, there would be no more Lingji. She wanted to return to the peach forest to continue picking, but was always blocked by the branches and leaves of a tree. She felt very strange. This peach tree is very tall, how could there be branches and leaves extending to block it? After looking for a while, she thought it might be because this peach tree is spiritual and wants to convey a message to herself. She gathered her spiritual energy to her heart and saw if the spell ring could make her perceive the meaning of the peach tree. The spell ring indeed conveyed the will of the peach tree to her. It turned out that this peach tree had been around for 1,000 years, but it had not yet reproduced its own descendants for nearly 100 years. Although the peach trees in the Falling Flower Valley cannot bear fruit, they can condense spiritual seeds with spiritual liquid and scatter with the wind to sow. In the past century, the wind direction in the valley has changed, and this millennium-old peach tree is located at the new wind direction. The wind blows from this peach tree to the peach tree behind it, and the fallen flower valley has not grown any spiritual insects that can transmit pollen, causing this peach tree to scatter pollen but not to come into contact with the pollen of other peach trees. As a result, it cannot produce spiritual seeds that can reproduce offspring. It hopes that some cultivators can collect some pollen to help it reproduce, but for 100 years, no cultivator has been able to feel its intentions. Coincidentally, Tang Yue passed by and the peach tree sensed that this person was carrying a natural spiritual treasure, and that their intentions were in line with that spiritual treasure. And natural things also have their own way of communication, and Peach Blossom Tree hopes to convey its will to Tang Yue through this innate spiritual treasure, asking her to help her collect some pollen. Tang Yue felt it was a piece of cake and agreed. After the peach tree regained its obstructed branches, she walked into the peach grove and used her newly learned windroll technique to collect pollen. The small technique recorded in Spiritual Power Foundation came in handy. After picking almost everything, I used my spiritual power to scatter pollen on the 1,000-year-old peach tree. In a moment, the entire peach tree was in the diffuse pollen, and the peach flowers could finally pollinate normally. The peach tree was grateful to her and gave her 20 spiritual peach blossoms and 50 spiritual peach leaves, which were rare items that cultivators would not normally pick. Only when the peach tree has spirit, can it actively bear fruit and be gifted to cultivators. The time for apprentices to pick Ganoderma lucidum cannot be too long, only 1 hour, otherwise they will deplete the small Ganoderma lucidum in this batch of peach trees, making it difficult to produce Ganoderma lucidum next year, and the production of Ganoderma lucidum will decrease. Tang Yue followed the team back with a basket of Lingji herbs she had collected, and settled the accounts at the Shenong Hall. This special event will reward the apprentices based on the quantity and grade of Ganoderma harvested, and is not free of charge. Although she is not short of this amount of money now, after all, it is her first time earning income from labor, so she has also submitted it to Lingji and is waiting on the side for settlement. It is not the disciples of Shenong Hall who count the Lingji, but the disciples of Xianyuan Mountain. They have been collecting Lingji from various parts of Liuzhou continent recently. According to the people in the hall, they want to refine a batch of upgraded pills to be provided to inner disciples. After a while, the disciple in charge of inventory at Xuanyuanshan let out a low cry and called for the person in charge of this acquisition, Lu Lingyi. This was also the first time Tang Yue had seen his life-saving benefactor. It was he who timely resolved half of the fierce beast attacks in the Spirit Beast Academy and delivered a lot of spiritual energy after rescuing the person, in order to save her life. Otherwise, modern Tang Yue would not have had the chance to pass through. She only then saw clearly that the basket that Xianyuan Mountain disciples had counted was the one she had picked. She heard Lu Lingyi bow to the shopkeeper of the Shenong Hall and say, "Brother, we have agreed to hand over all the goods to Xianyuan Mountain this time, and we have discovered the rare and unparalleled Lei Lingji in it." The disciples of the Shenong Hall also let out a cry of surprise. They had not seen Lei Lingji for a long time. Besides, this plant is the highest quality among Lei Lingji. How could someone from Kunwu City hand over such a precious herb to Xianyuan Mountain? They all looked at the owner of this medicine basket, who was a young girl. Upon closer inspection, it was the young lady from the city lord's mansion who came to be an apprentice. They understood that she probably did not recognize the Lei Lingji and mistakenly handed it over. It was a pity. Tang Yue's heart also churned. Although she didn't recognize Lei Lingji, she had read from a book that the 5 colored Lingji were green ji, red ji, yellow ji, white ji, and black ji. Lei Lingji is a mutated Lingji with thunder technique inside, making it a good material for refining weapons. When casting magic treasures, timely addition of Liling Zi will increase the level of the treasures, giving them purple thunder power and greatly enhancing their power. In addition, Jian Xiu likes to add purple Lingji to his own destiny sword, which can enhance its power and strength, making it less susceptible to damage. The better the quality of Lei Lingji, the darker the color. When the purple is too strong, it will turn black to a certain extent. The Lingji picked by Tang Yue is already completely black. If it weren't for the experienced cultivator who purchased it, it wouldn't be apparent that this is Lei Lingji. She deeply regrets that Li Lingzi is priceless in the market, and this plant is still a natural product that cannot be bought with money. It requires a certain chance, and now she has personally handed it over. Tang Yue looked at Lu Lingyi, Zhilan Yushu, with a handsome face and a straight and heroic figure. Many female cultivators looked at him with embarrassment and lowered their heads. Tang Yue also praised his good appearance, but her heart was more filled with the pain of losing Lei Lingji. She hoped that he could suddenly lose his sanity and return this Lingji plant to herself. Lu Lingyi bowed to her and said, "This is Tang Junior sister. We have met before, and I am willing to compensate you at the original price. I hope you can give us this Leiling Ganoderma to Xiuxian Mountain. Our senior uncle and uncle are going to the Jiuru demon sect to fight against the demon, and we are currently refining a powerful anti-evil magic weapon. This Leiling Ganoderma is crucial for the cultivation of the magic weapon. Their reasons are so significant, what else can Tang Yue say?" She replied weakly, "Senior brother Lu, you don't need to be polite. You and I have the grace to save lives, so I will give you this Lei Lingji without mentioning any reward." Lu Lingyi was amused and knew that Tang Shimi was heartbroken. Lei Lingji said, "Shimi, saving your life is what I should do. Faced with such a dangerous situation, any righteous cultivator would come to rescue you. I only regret not saving you in time and causing you serious injuries." He doesn't want to offset his life-saving kindness in this way. Xiuxian Mountain is on good terms with Kunwu City and purchases important Kunwu sword stones every year. Getting along well with the family of the Lord's mansion is even more important. Tang Yue knew that Lu Lingyi had reached the 10th level of the golden elixir cultivation, and being able to save herself in the face of high-level ferocious beasts was already very powerful. "Senior brother Lu, you don't need to say that. You have done your best. It is rare for cultivators to kill high-level ferocious beasts before they reach the distraction period. I am very grateful in my heart. I have accepted your compensation." "You're welcome, junior sister," Lu Lingyi said as she saw Tang Yue being able to speak and act confidently at a young age. Then the two went to Taya's spirit stone. After bidding farewell to Lu Lingyi, senior sister Shang, and everyone at the Shenong Hall, she walked back to the mansion with heavy steps. End of this chapter.